Welcome, everyone, to another edition of the Irish Breakdown podcast presented by FanDuel. We are here to talk about game one of the Notre Dame season, and that unfortunately ends up as a loss for the Fighting Irish. They go down to number 10, Miami, down in Miami Gardens, 27-24, in a game that, in a word, was sloppy, and it wasn't sloppy because of the weather. It was a tough game to watch on a lot of different fronts, but we're going to get into it here. Guys, we've got a lot to say about what we just witnessed, and this is the first time that we've had to talk about back-to-back losses since September of 2022. So let's throw out that stat out there, because why not? So not a fun show to do, but that's what we do here. We will show up no matter what, and we are going to talk about this game, guys. And the first thing that we like to do during a post-game show, whether win, lose, or draw, is we want to talk about our gut feelings and what we're feeling as we come out. And Brian, I will throw it to you. Just your overall thoughts on where we are right now.
Yeah, obviously we're going to get into the specifics of offense and defense and individual players, but overall it's just a very disappointing performance tonight. And guys, look, there's a scenario in which they lose this game, and I'm like, hey, it sucks. It's a bad loss. It's bad to lose, but you know what? This team did this. They did this. They played hard. They do this, do that. But that's not how I feel tonight. I mean, I'm torn between a couple of emotions, but the biggest one right now is just disappointment, because the things that we hoped and thought this team would be about, they weren't about tonight. And we'll when we do our shows over the bye week, we'll talk about like season's not over with, because it's not. They lost to Northern Illinois at home in week 2 last week, but I don't want to get into all that because it's about this game, and you shouldn't need these kind of wake-up calls to finally start being who you are. I mean, Marcus Freeman talks about we're going to be a team that's built in the trenches. Well, you got beat in the trenches tonight on both sides of the ball. You talk about how we're going to challenge everything. They didn't challenge Miami tonight in a lot of different ways. You saw changes from the defensive coordinator that I did not like that we're going to get into. Your offensive line still can't pass block. Year 3 of Joe Rudolph, and you still can't pass block. You look worse than you did at the end of last season. And you put your freshman quarterback in some situations where it's like, are we even going to try to run the ball to your stud running backs? The positive sign is obviously the freshman quarterback, made some freshman mistakes, but he equated himself quite fine tonight. But just really, guys, just frustrated with how the team played. And we'll get into more specific football talk, because we don't just come on here and vent and rant and fire everyone and do all that stuff. We're going to talk football here too. But you're gonna need to spend this first week of the bye week doing a serious gut check on who you are as a coaching staff and who you are as a group of players. And they can rally back from this, guys. There's no question. They can bounce back from this. They can go out and beat Texas A&M and get this thing rolling. And you could say, look, they played as bad as they could have played tonight and still lost to a top 10 team on the road by 3. But I'm kind of tired of those almost things we keep talking about. And that's what gets so frustrating is, you had this chance, you had that chance, you do this, you do that. But you still didn't do it. You almost did this. If this play goes this way, if that play goes that way, but you shouldn't have been in that situation. You shouldn't have put yourself in those situations. And to come out and second half really not make a ton of adjustments on defense, or the ones that they didn't really do a whole lot. Miami just goes right down the field. The offense can't answer. Then the offense gets a score to get it close, and then, hey, you tied it up. It's 24-24. All right, defense, let's go. And they can't answer. There just was no finishing tonight. No finishing tonight. Sloppy play. No penalties in the first half. Way too many penalties in the second half. A couple questionable ones. Just couldn't protect the quarterback when it mattered. Couldn't run the ball when it mattered. It just all around, except for Noah Burnett and Marty Biagi's unit, right? Like, I texted you guys when he lined up for the field goal to make it 24-17. I was like, he's going to miss this because so far the special teams hasn't done anything stupid yet. And so they're going to, offense and defense have. And he nailed it, and they did what they needed to do. So, other than that, it just was a lot of disappointment, guys. And it wasn't that they lost that bothers me. It's the how they lost, Vince. That's what bothers me. And just you weren't prepared. I'm hearing Molly McGrath talk about, the Joe Rudolph like imploring his guys to play harder, and Anthony Knapp's putting, eating popsicles. It's like, like you got to be more prepared for this type of environment. And you can't go out in a game like this, guys, and set the tone of your season that, hey, we're gonna get whooped in the trenches. And your best players are making mistakes. Your best players are the ones getting out there, getting beat on double moves and not picking a pass off in the end zone or breaking it up, or, missing tackles, or, just things like that. It was frustrating. And, there's a lot of blame to go around, and I'm sure we'll do some of that, but, we'll break it down. But just not effort, but just fire wasn't there tonight. Like, I don't want to question their effort. They were popping pads, but just no fire, no intensity, no urgency with how they played. And that was very frustrating. It was true on both sides of the ball.
I'm going to go real quick, and then I'm going to throw it to Trev. It's real simple for me. We got used to watching a team, Brian, over the all of last year, and a lot of the time that you and I have known each other, and just watching Notre Dame be the stronger team in the trenches, and just wasn't like that. And I just kept waiting for that switch to flip, and it never happened. And I think honestly, that's the most frustrating part for me is, there's certain things that it's football, like things happen, and, Miami makes a few amazing plays. And honestly, look, Miami deserved to win because of the way they played in the trenches, in my personal opinion.
Yeah, they outplayed Notre Dame.
You know what I'm saying? Yeah, 100%. But they made some spectacular plays to win this game, and Notre Dame still only lost by 3. So it's like, and Notre Dame did not play well. So it's like, I'm not sure who Miami is either, to be perfectly honest with you. But that's beside the point. They won the game. They deserve to win the game. The trenches are what really get me disappointed, to be really honest with you. I think CJ Carr played well enough to win this game. The trenches didn't. The coaching was not great. We'll get into that. It's just, that's the most frustrating part. There's certain things when I, as a fan and as an analyst, watch Notre Dame play, there's certain things are like the evidence that it's already in. You know what I mean? It's like the things that you expect. I expect Notre Dame to dominate in the trenches. You talk about wide receivers, we could talk about quarterback play, we could talk about the defensive secondary, all of those things, right? But I expect Notre Dame to win the trench warfare, and they didn't. That's the most disappointing thing to me. And I don't know if they're going to be able to fix it. We'll see, because Texas A&M is going to come in. They're going to be tough in the trenches too. And so if they don't figure it out in the next 2 weeks, we're looking at a real long season. You know what I mean? So that's the most disappointing thing for me, just as a whole, watching the game. And I kept waiting. I was like, wait, now, okay. So maybe they got punked here in the first half, and you're going to go in and make some adjustments and get this thing figured out in the trenches and run the ball and do all the things that Notre Dame does. And that never happened. That's the most disappointing thing for me. But so I just wanted to get my part out of there. I couldn't be more frustrated with that part of the game. If they did what they should have done, this game's not that close, man. I really do feel that way. But hey, it is what it is. You got to tip your cap to Miami. They came out, they played hard, and they punched Notre Dame in the mouth, and they didn't really have an answer in the trenches. So it's a tough
Miami played hard. You
are
correct, Vince. You got to give Miami credit. They came out 100%. And played hard. They beat a team that has got more talent than they did. They wanted it more. They won in the trenches. They made the clutch plays when they needed to. Yes, 100%.
Yep, I'm not going to be a sore loser about it. Miami went out there and punched Notre Dame in the mouth, and Notre Dame didn't have an answer. That bottom line. Trev, what do you got, bud?
I'm exhausted, if I'm just being 100% honest with you. Not like sleepy, tired. I'm exhausted in the fact that it hit me today. And it's, the last couple games that we've covered, Notre Dame USC on the road in a 49-35 shootout, home playoff game against Indiana, Sugar Bowl against Georgia, nail biter against Penn State in the Orange Bowl, national championship game, open your season against a top 10 team on the road in Miami in an old rivalry. And then it dawned on me that they host Texas A&M, a really good SEC team that is starting their year off 1-0. And first and foremost, legitimately, I'm exhausted. Now I understand why, there's some programs that just want to start out with a nobody every single year, because I bet it would have been kind of nice to sit back and watch this game with a bowl of popcorn, but I've basically been pacing my living room now for the last 6-7 hours. So first emotion from me is I'm exhausted, but I'm disappointed. I am. To your guys' point, absolutely hats off to Miami. And I'll want to be one of the first people to say that just because it's like, look, I was not high on Miami. Wasn't. And I was not shy about talking about it this offseason. And they came out and, to your guys' point, punched Notre Dame in the mouth. So I was disappointed at how they lost. I'll say this. At their core, they fought. I didn't necessarily love how they did it, which we'll dive into. I mean, I'm in a group chat with you three, and throughout the game, I was talking. There was multiple texts where I sent that said, "Game over, ball game, that's done." I mean, after Miami went on a 7.5-minute drive to open the second half, and then Notre Dame responded with a 3-and-out, I said, "That's ball game." And then after that screen pass got picked off, ball game. And there I was, minute 8 left on the clock, standing up in front of my TV, seeing what the final offensive possession was going to be to see if they could go down and tie it and force overtime and win the game. But at its core, I'm disappointed, truly, at how it went down. Really, really wish that we're going to dive into all of it, but disappointed and exhausted. It's my gut feeling.
Sean Davis, welcome to the party. It's not really a party. So, Sean, what do you got? What's your gut feeling after watching that game?
3 straight poor first halves going back to the Orange Bowl. 3 terrible first halves by this team against good competition. And 2 straight season openers that they didn't play well. That's it. That's preparation. Starts with Marcus Freeman, goes to the coordinators, and goes all the way down to the assistants and the players. That's what it is right now. You keep waiting for them to get over the hump. You keep waiting for them to check boxes. You can use the word disappointment. You can use any other adjective that you guys want to use tonight. It comes to the point that this program is what it is until they change it. We can talk about they can run the table, the season's not over, until they change it and can show against top competition that they can come in prepared and not sleepwalk through the first half and try to come back and we played hard. You had no choice. If you didn't play hard and keep playing, you're gonna get blown out. Like, am I supposed to pat you on the back for playing hard? You're supposed to do that from the first kick. That's why you work all summer, to be ready to play hard and have intensity. At least you had intensity at Texas A&M. You just didn't play well. And there were some circumstances that, injuries, things, some circumstances, your quarterback didn't play during the spring, all of that. This year, you didn't have any of those excuses. You didn't. We finally got a quarterback, god darn it. We finally got a darn quarterback. Let me tell you something. Everybody else, you can be mad about the loss. To me, watching that kid play trumped everything tonight. Because that's why you have the confidence moving forward that they can do what they can do. We're going to break down, I'm sure, offense, defense, but you come away from this game saying, Brian pointed it out, some rookie mistakes. Turning and twisting instead of just getting rid of the ball in certain situations and moving on to the next play, incurring a couple of penalties. You can nitpick about some things, but other than that, this program is what it is, man. Every opportunity they have to prove that they've taken a step forward, they just failed at it.
Yeah.
They just failed at it. And 3 straight terrible first halves against top competition.
Yeah.
That right there says it all.
And Sean, what's a key theme of those 3 straight first halves? And I would argue 4 straight first halves, because I don't think they played very well in the first half against Georgia in the Sugar Bowl either. But what was the theme in each of those? Your offensive line got its butt kicked. Your defensive line played well in one of the first halves. Georgia, they haven't played well in the first half of the last couple games either. And like, look, Trev's right to point out this team never quit, and that's admirable, and they deserve to be praised for that. But like, then I'm like, okay, but I'm done with that because that's what you're supposed to do when you're at Notre Dame. Like, no, they didn't quit like 2017, but that's not what the standard is. You know, that's not the golden standard, the challenge everything and all those different things. That's not what the standard is. Well, at least they didn't quit. No, the standard is to go on the road and freaking beat a top 10 team finally. The standard is to go on the road and travel your lines, because that's supposedly what doesn't, slump. And to go into this game and say, well, Jagasol got hurt. Jagasol got hurt in the offseason. You had all fall camp to get ready for your right guard position. You got two highly ranked kids battling out there. Your starting left tackle struggled, and they went to their stud 5-star freshman at left tackle. Oh wait, never been playing guard all fall camp, so they couldn't put him in the game at left tackle. It's just there's so many things that you're like, I hope this isn't a problem that were problems tonight. Now they've got to fix it, and we'll talk in the next week or two about what they need to do to fix it. But in this game, Sean, I think I love that you went to last season, because that's the trend of this team. You're spotting good teams' points. You can't keep rallying back like that, because in the last two games, you didn't have enough at the end of the game. You didn't do enough. And that's what's so frustrating, because, this team was pissed off all offseason. We kept hearing how pissed off they were. And I'm sure they were. But that doesn't mean a whole lot when you come into a game and, like Vince, I think you're the one who said it. You got punched in the mouth and you didn't really punch back. They didn't fold like Bama did against Florida State yesterday. And I guess that's good. But again, you're in year 4. You're in year 3 of your offensive line coach. You expect better. And kind of like what we saw last year against Northern Illinois in that game, where you were waiting on one of your stars to step up and make a play on offense. And you were waiting on one of your stars to step up and make a stop on defense. Because it's eerily similar to that game last year. Better opponent, but eerily similar. Offense finally, put you up in the fourth quarter, which they did against Northern Illinois last year. And what does the defense do? They let them go down the field and get a field goal to get the win. And then the offense is in desperation mode at the end of the half, and they can't get it done.
I think that's honestly that's one of the more frustrating things, right, Brian? Is like the defense didn't play well, the offensive line didn't play, like all of these things that Notre Dame didn't do well, and yet they had a chance at the end of the game to at least push it to overtime.
Which to me makes it even more frustrating.
Yes, that's what I'm saying. Yes.
Because you played like crap and almost still won the game.
Yes, yes.
And imagine if you just would have played good.
Yeah.
That's it. 100%. Just good. And part of the not well was Miami kicking your butt. Absolutely. It wasn't, but there were some like Eli Raridan with a wide open drop, just missed tackles. Your stud safety, who is a stud safety? This isn't like the hammer guys and act like they're not good anymore. Not making, seeing the ball and thinking he's going to intercept
not making
it.
a play on the ball.
Yeah, and your star cornerback got beat on a double move on that play. And it's just, there was always those things going on. And you're just like, the Miami kids were making those plays, including a true freshman wide receiver that Notre Dame couldn't cover tonight.
I mean,
didn't
he reclassify too? Shouldn't he be a senior in high school? I think that's even more frustrating. Yeah. Like that kid should be juking out 16-year-olds, not 26-year-olds. Like, God.
Yeah. So it was frustrating, guys, because, and here's the other thing too. Let's just end this. Let's just talk about this. Notre Dame got outcoached tonight. They got outcoached in their preparation. Miami was more prepared for this game. They got outcoached in key situations. Miami, on both sides of the ball, Miami's coaches on third down were way better than Notre Dame's coaches on third down. Miami's coaches adjusted to things. Notre Dame burned them on that first series with the perimeter screens, and they started blowing that up in the second half. People say, why'd you keep calling it? Just so we're clear, that wasn't a call per se. Those were RPO pull and throws. But my thing is, okay, cool, but then make some adjustments to your RP pull and throws when they're beating you in that regard. So like the second half, we didn't see to me, any adjustments that worked. We didn't seem to like you guys remember in the Penn State game last year when Notre Dame just kind of on defense was kind of getting pushed around by Penn State, and they came out that third quarter and the defensive line just came out and punched Penn State right back, and they were coming downhill. They made some adjustments to set the edge more effectively, and Penn State couldn't really do anything in the third quarter, which allowed Notre Dame to come back. Tonight, we saw Miami come right out in the third quarter and do exactly to Notre Dame in the third quarter what they did to them in the first half. And so, I mean, I'm not trying to get into like offensive and defensive breakdowns. I'm trying to make a bigger coaching point where Miami staff, Shannon Dawson and Corey Heatherman, performed well. Well, it was first game for Chris Ash. It's the first game for Corey Heatherman too. And he hasn't coached nearly as long as Chris Ash has been coaching.
And Heatherman
and
had
he made the
how many
adjustment.
Transfer kids that he was working with, and
look at the adjustments he made in this game tonight after that first series, and it was just it was frustrating, to see Notre Dame, which they do have a good coaching staff, guys. They didn't go to the title game by accident last year,
right?
But tonight in this game, they didn't do well. They got out-coached. And that was a big factor. And when I mean that, I don't mean the coaching that started at 7:40 when they kicked off. I mean the preparation coming into this game. Miami was more prepared to play a physical football game than Notre Dame was, for whatever reason. I'd like to point out and tell you what it was from what we saw in fall camp, but we didn't see anything in fall camp after the first practice. And so
and that was shorts and helmets. So
it was frustrating.
See anything
it was frustrating.
Yeah.
It was frustrating. But they got out-coached tonight. The players got out-hit and outplayed, but the coaches got out-coached and out-prepared and out-adjusted.
Yeah. All around. Yeah,
except for Marty Biaggi, by the way. I'm sorry. Marty Biaggi. I mean, you had the pin and the punt, and, at the 5-yard line on that drive, which in Miami still moved the ball. I thought the kickoff team was good. There was one time where Marcello kicked it, and I thought it was going to go right out of bounds. Did you see that? And then it straightened up.
I was in the middle of talking to my daughter. I was like, oh, crap. And it it ended up being a line drive, which is I'm sure all they wanted him to do in the first place. But that one kind of frightened me a little bit. But you're right. Marty Biaggi's crew did not do anything wrong. Just wish they might have blocked a field goal. That would have been good. But what can you do?
Yeah. Right. But anyway, guys, that was frustrating. Got out hit, got out fought, got out coached. That's not what's supposed to happen in Notre Dame.
Agreed.
And I hope that Marcus Freeman and Mike Denbrock and Chris Ash tonight, when they get home, the first thing they do before they look at the film and find out what the players did is look in the mirror and say, how can we better prepare this team to play at the level we expect them to? Joe Rudolph needs to go have a come to Jesus moment with how he currently has the offensive line made up. You got to hold this. The good thing about this is the bad thing about this is you got to let this sit in you for 2 weeks.
Yeah.
The good thing about this is you got 2 weeks before the next game. So you've got some time to make some adjustments and maybe the sitting in a couple weeks is good for this team because maybe they can come out with a little bit of P&V when they take on Texas A&M. But this team's character is going to get tested, and to a degree they somewhat answered that tonight by not quitting, by not giving up, by not just rolling over and letting Miami just beat them. But at the same time, when they had chances to make money plays, they didn't make enough of them, and that cost them.
Yeah, I mean, it wasn't like 2017 where they just rolled over and let Miami take over. That wasn't the feeling. It was just they didn't play Notre Dame football like we are accustomed to seeing, at least over the last year, right? So that's the most frustrating part. Anything else from Trev or Sean that you guys want to get off your chest before we jump into the offense a little bit?
No, I'm saving it.
To be continued. All right, so let's jump into the offense, guys. And we're not going to go through like position by position by position. That's not how we're going to do this. We're going to talk just offense. I want your feelings about the offense, and we can kind of take it whichever direction kind of the conversation goes. To be honest with you, I know we want to talk about coaching. I know we want to talk about line play, and I know we want to talk about CJ Carr. So I mean, there's things to talk about here for sure. I kind of want this to be more of a, hey, let's talk offense and see where this thing goes. So Brian, I'm going to kick it to you first. Why don't you lead us off here, and we'll kind of go off of the direction you take us.
I've been kind of pissed off for the first 25 minutes of the show. I've been pissed off for the last 3.5 hours. Just even when I thought they had a shot to come back and win it, I was still kind of like a little pissed off. But look, there's a lot of things CJ Carr is going to have to clean up from this game after his first start. You know, the interception was an RPO pull. He shouldn't have pulled. You got to see that. You got to learn from that mistake, right? That was a mistake.
Numbers were not. Can you explain it?
Right.
The numbers were not in his favor.
Yeah, the numbers weren't in his favor. They were overplaying it. The read wasn't there. So Miami was kind of baiting him. So people keep saying, why keep running the screen? Why aren't you running the ball more? Well, they were pulling and throwing RPOs, and Miami was kind of baiting them into some of those. Well, the coaching adjustment needs to be get rid of the RPO on a couple times. When you want to run it, just freaking run it. You know, you don't have to tag an RPO with it. There's calls you can make to where we're just going to run block. And so maybe they could have done some of those in the second half. And like, again, there's going to be things that you saw them talking to CJ. He's going to have to look back and say, okay, yes, technically my read said pull, but I need to give the ball to 4. And those are things that he's going to learn. But how did he respond from that INT? Like, let me go back and look at it here, guys. So he throws the interception, and he comes back the next drive, and he completes four, let's see, 1, 2, 3, 4 straight passes to get them going. And then you get into field goal range, and
they kick a field goal.
You know, yeah, you get the penalty. You know, Sullivan Absher just gets destroyed, and he gets sacked. You know, intentional grounding. He's gonna have to. That's one thing he's definitely have to learn is like, dude, you can't just, you know, like in that last one, he'd have been better off taking a sack, and maybe they can get lined up before you get the 10-second runoff. You know, but he bounced back well in that regard. Then the next drive, you know, they get the ball, and he hits Eli Raridan, which showed tremendous patience in the pocket, by the way, to keep his eyes downfield. He's looking around, he's scanning, he sees the linebacker leave, he keeps his eyes downfield, finds Eli for the big play, and then runs it in on the quarterback touchdown run. So he throws the terrible interception, and on the next 2 drives, he leads Notre Dame to points. Yeah, there's a lot to clean up after your first start, but like that's the kind of moxie you want to go see. Yeah. And then the offensive line just completely failed him on the final drive.
I mean,
just completely failed him.
He had no chance.
But like there were some ball. Like what's the one thing that like we heard from our sources about fall camp that was accurate is CJ Carr throws balls that nobody else in the roster can make. Mm-hmm. And you saw that tonight. I mean, the throw to Malachi, I mean, it's a great catch by Malachi, but holy crap, what a throw. The no-look pass for the touchdown, you guys saw that, right?
Yeah.
You saw him looking right to freeze the defense and then go like this to Micah Gilbert. You guys saw that, right?
And it hit him like right in the face.
Yeah. I mean, there were some throws he made tonight. We're like, dude, that's impressive. And in the first half, you know, there were some things where I'd like to see what that throw would have looked like if it wasn't in the pouring down rain. But he's got to clean up some stuff. But that kid showed a lot of grit, a lot of heart, didn't quit, you know, led his team back late in the game, and made some pretty excellent throws. I thought at times they put him in some bad spots. I would have liked to see them, you know, I understand why they didn't let him turn it loose a whole lot in the first half because of the weather. Miami was also playing a lot of cover 2, and this is where Notre Dame got hurt because they were playing a lot of 2 deep safeties and bringing their safeties down late because they thought Miami's game plan was we think our D-line is going to kick your offensive line's butt. They did not load the box tonight. There was very rarely did Miami load the box where they were bringing safeties. They thought we can beat you with our front and our linebackers, and they were correct.
And they did.
Which limited some of the downfield opportunities for Notre Dame. And then, of course, the rain. But yeah, I did want to at least be positive here is, you know, like, again, he's going to have a lot of stuff to clean up. But you made the right choice at quarterback. And we saw the optimism we have about CJ Carr, to me, was confirmed. He wasn't perfect, but I didn't expect him to be perfect. I think he played better than Arch Manning and Julian Sand did in their openers, you know, but at the end of the day, it wasn't enough. But that's not on CJ Carr. That's on everybody, including CJ's part of the reason it's not like CJ played brilliantly and the rest of the team failed him. No, CJ's got his stuff. He's got mistakes he's got to make too. He had a couple throws that he missed. He had some drops in the game, and he had some mistakes he made with the intentional groundings and, you know, a couple things like that. But overall, you're like, dude, okay, they've got a quarterback. Like Sean said it in the beginning, like that's the one positive takeaway out of this game is they got a quarterback. There's no doubt about that.
All right, so let's talk CJ Carr, Sean. You brought him up first, so I'm going to give you some ample opportunity here to talk about CJ and what you saw tonight.
Well, Brian laid it out perfectly. Of course, you expected him to make freshman mistakes in his first start. You expected that. Marcus Freeman expected that. He said, we're going to have to support him and protect him. We're going to have to play well around him. Well, guess what? They didn't play well around him. And they put this young man in a position to have to go win the game. You didn't want to put your freshman quarterback in that position. You wanted to play so well surrounding him, offensive line, receivers, defense, special teams, everybody supporting him so that he can be comfortable. And despite that, the moxie of the kid shows you that, it was just kind of ironic. The game was over, they're walking off the field, and everybody runs up to him, patting him on the helmet, like encouraging him. And I'm like, don't encourage him. He's good. He's the one that actually showed moxie. He's the one that actually led the way. He's the one that played above what most people thought he would play at. If you really just looked at the national view, he played above what people thought he would give Notre Dame in this game. He met or exceeded expectations. Leonard Moore struggled. Interior defensive line struggled. Boubacar Traore was really the only one that could get any type of pressure on the defensive line in passing situations. Coordinators, sure, we'll get to that. It's just the support that they talked about going into this game that they need to give to their red shirt freshman quarterback, they didn't give it to him. And so that's what troubles me. That just really troubles me, just looking at this team moving forward. Who are they going to be? And why do they always need to stub their toe to get it right? Why do they always need a moment like this to get it right? Why do they need a Northern Illinois? Why do they need a Marshall? Why do they need 10 men on the field against Ohio State? Why do they always need moments like this to get it right in the fourth year? It's just troubling. It's troubling. And I don't know, Texas A&M doesn't check that box. I watched them last night. They can't run the ball. They score points, but they couldn't run the ball against UTSA. I really don't expect that to be a problem for Notre Dame. I think Notre Dame ended up giving up 118 tonight. Was it 118 on the ground? And with that offensive line that Miami had that was fifth in the nation at running the ball last year, if you had told me that Notre Dame held them to 118 yards, I would have been like, I can live with that. I just wouldn't have expected the two costly turnovers. I wouldn't have expected the offense to just give possessions away in the first half, either with drop passes or just bad play calling and just not getting your best player the ball from the first snap. Like, get him the ball. Make them aware of him. This whole use him as a decoy, and it's almost like when we go up against stiff competition, it's almost like we expect them to be keyed in on him so much that we just say we're gonna trick them. We're gonna trick them, and we're gonna do something else, and then come back to him. Like, no, do what you do. Miami knew the way we win this game is to run the ball, and we're going to establish the run from the very beginning and make some plays in the passing game. Vince, like you said, they made two spectacular plays in the passing game, and it was enough. Carson Beck did enough. That's all he did was enough. The same support that you wanted CJ Carr to have, Miami gave Carson Beck that support. He got that support. CJ Carr didn't. And that's the difference in the game. 2 turnovers, but really, it was only, 3 points off that turnover, which ended up being the difference in the game. But once again, when you give away possessions, just flat out give away possessions. You have an opportunity, you're moving the ball, and then just something silly, whether it's a bad play call, bad decision, drop pass, just something just stifles you. And you're just trying to figure out, man, why? And then all of a sudden, Jadarian gets in the backfield, and all of a sudden, now we want to get physical and run the ball. And lo and behold, we can run the ball. Like,
But then they never let him run the ball again.
Yes,
I didn't see him on the field
On the
after that.
field.
He had
On the
6
field.
carries, and then that was it.
Yes. And then I'm sitting there saying, wait a minute. I know we have a new running back coach, but Aeneas can't see the field?
That one is, I think, related more to the injury at fall camp. You saw the big brace
That's
on
a
his
good
arm.
point.
I think
That's a good point.
Yeah, I think that's
a good
more
point.
related to the injury.
Because I did see Nolan James come in
One play.
eventually for one play. Yeah.
It was the
So that's a
touchdown.
good point. That's a
It was
good
the
point with the injury. But other than that, I just think we just wasted opportunities, man. Tonight was about wasted opportunities.
I agree with that.
Really on both sides of the ball.
Yeah.
But specifically talking about the offense, we just wasted opportunities, wasted possessions early, opportunities to put points on the board. I just don't. This is the 3rd straight game. Because you could tell Ford was frustrated.
He should be.
You could tell he was
should
frustrated and was trying very hard not to be a detriment, to the team. But you could just tell he was sitting on the sideline frustrated. Like you said, he's well within his rights. But I don't get it. I need an explanation. I need one. Like, I understand, like you said, Brian, coming out, the short passes, getting CJ comfortable. But at some point, hey, number 4, the call on the goal line was just baffling to me. Baffling. Really? You're going to run with CJ in that situation? When 4 is standing right next to him? Or it's just questionable. And I just don't get it. It just seems like we overthink things. We have one of the best players in all of college football in the backfield. Let him make it easier for the guy next to him. Not by being a decoy, but by actually getting him the ball. Put pressure on the defense to constantly have to stop him. That's my offensive thoughts. I thought outside of the some inconsistency in the wide receivers, the Malachi Fields fumble, you had some drop passes. I include Eli Raritan in the receivers. He dropped a couple of balls, even on the last drive. Every time that ball was high, man, that dude is 6'5", 6.
Right.
Catch the ball. 6'7", right? Catch the ball.
Catch the ball.
That drop on the unders. So again, Sean, as you guys know, some of the pass calls were not pass calls; they were reads. So the one where Eli comes from right to left and he's in the flat, that's actually an RPO play that Mike Denbrock's run for a while. CJ on that could have been a run call depending on what Miami did, but they crash and he pulls it. He's got Eli Raritan and he catches that ball. He's up the corner for at least for a first down. And there was just stuff like that where you're like, dude, like, I need you to be better, man. I need you to be better. We've seen him make that play in practice and look great. And then you get to a game and you don't make that play. That was very frustrating, Sean. When you talk about the inconsistency, that was very frustrating.
But great catch by Malachi Fields. They didn't get Jaden Greathouse in the game. Jordan Faison, I thought, was fantastic to start the game. He had intensity. He was fired up. I'm personally, I can't wait to see Vince and B break down the offensive line.
That's not going to be a fun show.
I know. I can't wait to see it because, once again, this is something else, guys. And then I'm done. Only one of the offensive coaches that we felt like would be under the spotlight coming to this season actually had a positive light shine on their performance tonight. And that was Geno. We were like, yo, Geno, this is your year. His young quarterback performed well. Al Washington, Joe Rudolph.
Oh.
So
Trev.
moving forward,
Yeah, I guess since we're sticking with positives first, I'll say this. I mean, Sean, you started to mention
You don't
some
have
of the.
to. You don't have to.
I have some.
Okay.
I have
You want
some.
Go ahead.
I have some. They're few. There's like 2, and you guys covered CJ. But look, man, I think the future of the pass game looks bright. But this game on offense is why I'm a show me person. This is exactly why I'm a show me guy. And there were some moments in the game where it's like, okay, they showed me. Outside of the fumble, and I don't want to just say all the fumble because it was a huge momentum swing in Miami's favor, huge play. But outside of the fumble, Malachi Fields was what we thought he was going to be. Contested catch guy. He was run after the catch guy tonight. I thought Jordan Faison might have been the hardest playing football player on the team tonight. Wasn't going down. He played harder than anybody that I know of on defense consistently. And I'll talk about that here in the next 45 minutes. But you know, I think the future of the pass game looks bright. It's weird to go back and look and actually see that Jeremiah Love actually had like 15 touches this game. Didn't feel like it. But it is weird to think
a lot of them came late.
Were at the end.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yep. But over the course of the game, it didn't feel like it. I thought Jadarian did Jadarian things. Came in, he was the change of pace back that they needed. I talked about it with some buddies before the show started or before the game started, and I was like, "Look, man, it's not going to shock me if Miami's whole game plan is stop 4, and in that case, I think that Denbrock out-schemed himself, and that he's like, well, I think that they are going to game plan too much for 4, so I'm going to try to take that away from their game plan." Overthought himself. Jeremiah Love's one of the best players in college football. Get him the rock. I think that's simple. But on the chance that Miami was able to shut him down, I thought that Jadarian was going to be a good change of pace guy. We saw that against Florida State last year. We saw that against USC last year. They weren't stopping Jeremiah Love either. Point being, when 24 gets his chance in the backfield, he makes something out of it. Georgia was doing a really good job of containing Jeremiah Love. Wasn't 100%, but still did a good job of containing him. Wasn't 100% against Penn State or IU either. So Georgia did a good job of containing him. Jadarian came in and did a good job in the Sugar Bowl. But, last thing too for positives that I'll say is, what went right. For the first game, I will give them this. Procedurally, it was actually relatively clean. No delay games, no false starts in an away environment like that with a redshirt freshman quarterback. I'll take that. That's something you can build on. So there's one positive there.
I do have. Can I unpositive your positive a little bit? I thought one of the issues, because you are correct, one of the issues is up until the end of the game, I thought part of it is they seemed to go on the same count all the time, and it looked like Miami kind of had it down after a while.
Sure.
And I think that kind of factored into it as well. It looked like they didn't mix up their cadence a whole lot. And I was like, I was feeling it. And then a buddy of mine texted me and he was like, they're not mixing up the cadence. Like, it's okay. It's not just me. But to your point, Trev, there weren't any of those false starts, misalignments. And then the one almost delay game they got, that you could see it. CJ looks up, sees the clock, and immediately gets a timeout.
Yep.
And
do you think he got that ball off at the end of the game? I felt like they got it off.
I don't think he did.
Off.
Well, it just depends.
It doesn't matter.
Like the TV thing isn't always matched up to what's on going on in real life. I didn't think he did, but like to your point, it didn't matter.
It didn't matter. I just one more thing to be ticked off about at the end of the game.
Keep going,
go ahead, Trevor.
Yeah, like I said, future of the pass game I think looks bright. There are depth concerns throughout both sides of the ball, in my opinion. The fact that we only saw one tight end tonight's a little concerning. I don't know who the other tight end was I got on the field.
They put Ty Washington in some 12 personnel run blocking situations. It was like 4 or 5 of them. That's it.
So not great. Wide receiver depth. Oh, another positive. Micah Gilbert, when given the opportunity, he made the most of his. He made the most of his opportunity. That was good to see.
Yeah.
The snag route too was. It may not look like it, but the snag route was really well done because basically they're reading the flat defender, and so they run him on this little snag spot route. Then there's a slide route and a corner route behind it to take the safety away. So basically, CJ's got to read the flat defender. If he buzzes outside, then you got to hit that little snag route right behind it. And if he sits back, then you throw the slide. If they are playing cover 2, which takes away both of those, then you bang the corner route, which Riley did. That was when the pass that Riley hit Cooper Flanagan on in the opener last year was on that corner. It was the same concept, but A&M was playing cover 2, and so they banged the corner behind it. But a mistake that a lot of young receivers will make on that, Trev, is they'll sink and then they'll drift inside. And Micah let that guy buzz by him and stayed away from the linebacker who's buzzing out. It's a really savvy play. And then, of course, working to get open on that play. So I just wanted to kind of break that particular play down a little bit. But that was a smart play, not just he's wide open. He caught the ball. Yeah, he was wide open because he showed really good feel for finding that soft spot against his own coverage on a snag route. So that was very well done.
Yeah, absolutely. Micah Gilbert impressed me tonight. Outside of that, those are just kind of my positive takeaways from the offense. Look, I'm pissed about the loss like the other 3 guys are, but I'm not going to sit here and act like there's absolutely 0 things for this team and this offense to build on either, because I also think that that's not fair. There were some good things tonight, and it was centered around 13. He did a lot of the things. This is the positive of being a show me person. With CJ, you had all the traits in the world, but you need to show me that it's not just, being awesome in a blue gold game. You have to show me it's, not just being awesome in a jersey scrimmage. And he did tonight, and it was really, really promising. And so the play with CJ Carr, he was as advertised in week 1. Got to keep stacking performances and keep improving and get consistent. But first sample size of seeing him as Notre Dame starting quarterback was really, really promising.
I will just bring up the last thing about CJ, in my opinion, was just his poise. I think was spot on. I mean, we had heard
too big for him.
Yeah, exactly. And we had heard some people talking about how they were worried about his mental state and how he was going to handle the environment and all these different things. And it was one of the things that I actually felt really good about going into this game, just because of who he is and what his background is. That was something I didn't worry about, and he proved me right. Thank you, CJ. Appreciate that. But the moment was never too big for him. He never had that deer in the headlights look. Even when he was under pressure, obviously, the touchdown pass that he had to Micah Gilbert. I mean, we know of plenty of quarterbacks out there that are probably getting sacked in that moment or throwing the ball away or whatever, right? And he does what he did and finds an open guy, keeps his eyes downfield and squares his shoulders and makes a good throw, and no look throw at that. And there were plenty of other opportunities as well where he had an opportunity to not be good and not be poised, and he was. And so I think that was huge. And the way he played, his poise is what made me think they had a shot with 1:04 left to go.
Yeah. No, Vince, I couldn't agree more. I said this in the offseason. I said in the first 2 games, there's going to be a moment that whoever starts at quarterback for Notre Dame, they're going to put a lot of fans' minds at ease, win or lose, and Notre Dame fans are going to be able to walk away and say, okay, they've got a guy.
Yeah.
And I think that moment was tonight, truly. With the different plays that he made, with his poise throughout the entire game, the moment never looked too big. At least that was my takeaway. I guess I can't speak for the rest of the Notre Dame fan base. I'm not going to speak for you 3, but that was my takeaway. And
no, I think we're all on the same page on that.
I think we are too. And I think that
I'll tell you this, he may not be the answer all season if they keep running him like he's freaking Riley Leonard on 3rd down and in the goal line.
Facts.
That was going to be the next thing I was going to talk about, because it felt like, in those moments, Mike Denbrock was seeing a different number 13 out there. And he's like, oh, we're good. First and goal from the 3.
Yeah.
Send my guy in, it's not the same 13, man. And there were a couple of shots that he took that had me a little nervous, because he's not the size. Look, he's a great size for a pocket passer. He's not Riley Leonard. He can't take those hits over and over again.
No, he showed tonight that he's a much better athlete than a lot of people gave him credit for. But being a good athlete doesn't make you a good runner, on designed runs. He did a nice job of getting through holes, but he doesn't know how to take a hit. And that's something he's going to have to learn to do if he's going to last the whole season. But I want to get your guys' thoughts on this. Sean, I wanted to ask you this question and see if you had the same reaction, or not even see if you had the same reaction. I want to get your thoughts. I also get Trevor's thoughts on this. I actually loved the first drive game plan. I did. Vince, I know you're going to talk. You're the MC of the show.
I'm just messing with you, too. I'm just messing with you.
I thought that first drive you come out and it's like, okay, get the quarterback get him into a rhythm. You had the now screen on the first play, went for -2, bad block by Jaden Greathouse. Next play hits a little quick out to Eli Raridan. Nice little read. They're running their burst corner concept, hits a little 5-yard out. They run a tunnel screen on play 4, gets 14 yards. I'm like, all right, cool. They run an RPO. So the next play, they actually called a run play on that 1st and 10. They ran mid-zone left, but CJ read it. They crashed. He pulled, threw it outside to Jordan Faison, who caught it and went for 15. Next play, they ran a duo. I thought Jeremiah made a bad read on it. Or actually, they ran power. They went to 21 personnel, ran power, and you had Jadarian as a lead blocker, and Gerby was wrapping around. Miami crashed downside. Jeremiah's got to see that and bounce. But what happened was all night, Jaywan Sider, we haven't talked about him in this, but he needs to have a little bit of a look in the mirror moment too, because there's some things they did footwork-wise that are different now that had the run game all parts of jacked up. Like when they were running the counter tray, GT tackle counter, he was getting downhill way too fast. Both the running backs were. But on that play, Jeremiah's got to see that and bounce. That was a missed opportunity there. And then, of course, they had the bootleg left, and then Anthony Knapp got beat like a drum on 3rd down. But I looked at that and I said, okay, good game plan. Get CJ, get his feet wet, let him go out there, let Miami know you can't just pin your ears back. And I'm like, okay, now you come out and run the football. And you come out the next play, you run a screen, you fumble the ball. I'm like, all right, cool. Now they're going to run the football. Nope. Come out first play, you run a couple counter plays. You get to 3rd and 1. You run a nice counter on the GT counter on the first play. Jeremiah made a great read on it, but it wasn't timed well. You run it again, you get +1. And then you run 3rd and 1, you run a quarterback draw. Now, Gerby blocked the wrong guy, but I'm like, why? I just didn't understand it. And then the next drive, you get pass, run, pass. And it just was like there was never that moment where they got back to the run game. And then, it was confusing. This is my takeaway. The way Mike Denbrock coached tonight, he coached as if he didn't trust his offensive line. Quick game, screen game, a lot of outside runs, a lot of mid zone, never went right at Miami. Coach like a guy that didn't think his offensive line was either going to play well or wasn't playing well. Somebody asked me, why didn't they throw the ball down the field more? Do you actually think in the first half CJ Carr would have had time to throw the ball down the field more? Did you watch Anthony Knapp? The drive where they had that long score, Styles Prescott came in and gave him time to throw. And then, of course, Styles and Emil Wagner got beat on the last play. But that was the thing for me, guys, and this is where I honestly felt like Mike Denbrock, his game plan looked like someone who did not have confidence that his offensive line could go at Miami and protect the quarterback. That's what I thought.
I will say this. The second drive of the second quarter that Notre Dame had, where they ended up getting down and CJ throwing that touchdown, they started off run, pass, run, pass for the touchdown. And I was like, okay, Notre Dame football, here we go.
Yeah.
And then it was like that never happened. It was like they thought that might have been a fluke and they can't go back to it. Like that, I thought that was the moment. Like that was, I had put a little star in my notebook, like, okay, turning point, here we go.
Yep.
And they never went back to it. And that really kind of frustrated me with the way that they played the rest of the game, really.
So, Vince, they ran mid-zone load first play, center whiffed, ran quarterback draw on 2nd and 8, got 6, ran duo on 3rd down, got a 1st down, ran like that double pull play where the center and the backside tackle both pull. It's a G scheme. Went for 14. Great read and cut by Jadarian Price. Ran a tackle wrap for 1. That's the one where Jadarian fell down. 2nd and 9, CJ throws the snag concept that we broke down earlier, gets the 1st down. They run a wheel route to Jeremiah Love, incomplete. Totally fine with it. Miami had a night read on it.
Covered.
Next play, they come back. They run mid-zone again. Jadarian bounces it perfectly, outruns him to the sideline, gets 30. They run 1st and goal, quarterback lead on 1st and goal from the 10. Second down, they ran a little tackle wrap play. He fumbles it for -3, and then CJ scrambles and gets the touchdown. to your point, like that's back to, who Notre Dame is.
Right.
And then we came out the third quarter. That was the last play of the first half, right? Or last play other than the kneel for
That was
Notre
the
Dame
last time they
half,
had the
right?
ball. That's the last time they had the
come
ball.
out.
Yeah.
Yeah, you come out and you run that read zone underplay first time. You run a slant route that gets batted. You scramble. Your offensive line gets beat. And then you come out your next series two. It's now screen, quick out, Y under that gets dropped, scrambles for 13. You have the great catch by Malachi. Then you run a mid zone that gets a big gain. Eli holds, and we never really saw them go back to running the football. To your point,
Jadarian Price never touched the football after that drive.
Never
touched the football. And I was thinking to myself, okay, next time, hey, they found something here. They're getting back to who they are. Put Jadarian back in for another series. Let's see how this thing goes. You know what I mean? And the whole time I'm thinking, of course, they need to get more touches for Jeremiah. Don't get me wrong. But when you find something that works, like this is what I hate about coaches, okay? And you and I have talked about this, Brian. Coaches try to outthink themselves just too much. Like, go back to what was working. It's okay to run the same stuff if it's working. That's okay. You don't have to be the smartest guy in the room. Just go back to what was working. And they never did.
LSU did that. They were there's 4 straight plays last night against Clemson where Clemson would not adjust to their wide alignment. So they just kept pulling and throwing the little screen. Just like 3-4 straight plays.
I remember that. Yeah. Yeah. That was frustrating. Jadarian was feeling it. You know what I mean? Like he was bouncing. He was seeing the field really well. I thought he was running the ball really hard when he ran between the tackles. Okay. Give him the ball. Like, let's go.
Sometimes being the smartest guy in the room is doing the simple thing.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. Exactly. We run into too many offensive coordinators that try to be the smartest guy in the room by changing it up. And, I've got to use Jeremiah Love as a decoy. I've got, it's just frustrating when you've got the talent right there. Just do it. Just do what everybody in the stadium thinks you're going to do. That's okay. It's okay.
Well, people in the chat are saying Price didn't play because he fumbled. I'm like, all right, cool. He fumbled. That sucks. You fix it. He does. But he's the only reason you're even down there.
It was in a mosh pit.
Does anybody think if somebody in the chat made a great point? Does anybody think if Jeremiah Love would have fumbled there, he doesn't play the rest of the game? Does anybody believe that?
Malachi fumbled. He was right back in the game. So
and he should have been
correct. Yeah, absolutely correct. Yeah, that's. If that's a reason that we get somewhere down the line, that's terrible. Sorry. I'm not saying it will be. I'm just saying that I can't get on board with that reasoning. So,
yep. Yeah. I was let's just get to this at the end, guys.
Okay.
Your offensive line was incredibly that was just an awful performance. Just
across
from the start. And it wasn't just Anthony Knapp. He was the worst of the group, and it's the most glaring because so many of us have questions about should he be the guy there anyway. So many of us have questions about why won't challenge everything except the left tackle. You know what I mean? I don't understand that. And you've got this stud 5-star, really athletic, really talented, 6'7", 305-pound true freshman. And he's your left tackle of the future. And what do you do the minute he arrives on campus? You put him at guard behind Billy Schrouth, knowing he's not going to play there. It's almost like, do you not want him to show up your guy? Is that what's going on right now? And look, he went against some really good defensive ends tonight. No question. But you're the second-year starter at the University of Notre Dame at left tackle. You're telling me Notre Dame doesn't have anybody at left tackle that can block Ruben Bain? If that's the case, then just this season's going to be disappointing. And you should probably just pack it in and say, hey, we're just going to struggle there, so let's go ahead and play our 6'7", 305-pound stud true freshman tackle and take your lumps like they did with Joe Alt in his first year. But the problem is you're going to have to now adjust him back to tackle since you moved him to guard the first day of camp and kept him there. Well, I know he can play tackle. Then play him at tackle. I thought Styles battled when he came in, but then Styles got overwhelmed on that last drive as well because Miami could just pin their ears back. But, like, there were plays, like the first drive of the game, guys, and it's just like, okay, here we go. It's 3rd and 9, and you have to throw it away because Anthony Knapp barely touches Reuben Bain. That was not that good of a get-off, guys. That was just typical Anthony Knapp, who's a talented kid, is just not a tackle. This isn't even on Anthony Knapp. This is actually, I feel bad for Anthony Knapp because he's being put in a position where his game is not ideally suited. Because you've convinced yourself, because you evaluated him in a camp, that he's a great athlete, that he's a left tackle. He is a very good athlete. But he's just not a left tackle. And you're in the situation where it's like, okay, well, he's young. I get that. But he's still not a left tackle. This is start number 16 for you. And that was frustrating. You know, we saw Ashton Craig with a couple mistakes tonight. Overall, he was solid. We didn't see the interior get the push that we thought that they could get. They didn't do much inside. They were okay, but they weren't good. Emil Wagner was very disappointing in this game as well. This isn't just Anthony Knapp. There was a couple times he just got bullied into the backfield. And that was very – and it's technical stuff, guys. It's the same thing that we talked about last year. He gets on his heels and he loses his base and he lets guys drive him into the backfield. That just can't keep happening. That can't keep happening. And you're now going into year, 3 of the Joe Rudolph era. And the fact is outside of Joe Alt, you've yet to have an offensive tackle that consistently pass block. I'm sorry, there's too much talent at the University of Notre Dame on the offensive line for this to be the case. And if you're going to tell me it's about talent, well, that's also on the offensive line coach because he's now going into year 3 of recruiting offensive linemen into the program. And you've signed 3 straight years, you've signed a 5-star offensive tackle. One of them's hurt, and you moved him to right guard before he got hurt. The other one, you moved the right guard to replace that guy at right guard. And the other one, you moved the left guard. I'm just saying, eventually, when you start seeing these same decisions over and over again, like, hey, let's start Pat Coogan over Billy Strouth in 2023. And then miraculously, when Billy Strouth gets in the game at the end of the year, start running the ball on everybody. Hey, let's start Sam Pendleton over Rocco Spindler. I love Sam Pendleton. Sam Pendleton played. Did you guys watch him against Syracuse yesterday at center? Sam played well. I wish he was still here at Notre Dame because he'd probably be starting to right guard right now. But you put him in there before he was ready and then stuck him next to a true left tackle or true freshman at left tackle. That was a great call. And then miraculously, once Rocco gets put back in the game because of injury, all of a sudden the offensive line starts looking good again because you got a veteran in there who knows what he's doing. Amazing. Well, why'd Rocco leave? Because when they told, hey, you're going to get a chance to start, you think he's going to believe them after what happened last year? I wouldn't. I certainly wouldn't. And so we're back in the same situation where, once again, decision-making from your offensive line coach about personnel has us scratching our head saying, I don't understand what's going on right now. And the trust Rudolph stuff, I'm done with that. Because we're in year 3 of this mess. And we're still talking about the same stuff over and over and over again. Good run blocking coach, doesn't coach pass pro well. Guys, Reuben Bain's beating him with just simple moves. Speed rush with a jab and a bull. And you aren't prepared for that? You played Penn State, Ohio State, Georgia, and Indiana in the postseason last year, and you're not prepared for that? Are you serious? At some point in time, you got to look in the mirror and say, hey, maybe I'm the problem. Maybe my decision-making is the problem. And it's so inexcusable for a guy that's returning that many starters and that kind of talent to watch them get their butts kicked in the first game by a coach who's got, Sean, I see you smirking down there. Let me hear it.
Hey, I was enjoying it, man. Vince, can you cut that and edit that, just that part right there, and send it to me? I got a few gifs I want to make. But I'm going to say this. There's no way CJ Carr can have the leading rush attempts moving forward. Yeah. He had 11 rush attempts. Jeremiah Love had 10. Jadarian Price had 6. That can never happen. Never. Never. Not if you want to help this kid. Not if you want to support this kid. That cannot happen. And that falls upon the offensive coordinator. And I would tell you something else, because we saw it. You talked about the interception. That was an RPO. It made me think about that fourth down play, Ohio State against Texas. And Ryan Day goes up to Julian saying, like, yo, throw the ball to 4. You trying to explain to me what you saw? We ran the play for 4. He's man-to-man, throw it up to 4. Guess what? Marcus Freeman is going to have to tell the offensive coordinator. Mike Denbrock's going to have to tell the quarterback. I understand. You're doing the math. You're reading the box. You're looking at numbers. You're looking at this guy's off here. Give 4 the ball. He just popped the 8 the play before.
Yeah.
Give it to him again. Give it to him. It's like
you don't have
really
to call an
simple.
RPO, Sean. You have tags built into your run calls that are just hand the ball off.
Just hand the ball off.
And then adjust what you're doing in your RPO game. Or here's the thought: run a play action pass where you pump fake a screen and then send Jaden Greathouse on a stutter go. I'm just saying, like, they have it down. Do something different.
But your offensive line rant was beautiful, masterful. And I apologize to you and Trevor during the camp for trying to even explain why the 5-star tackle was at guard. I tried to play advocate. I tried to advocate. Well, maybe this is what they're thinking. There is no logical. There's nothing you can sell us to make it make sense. Absolutely nothing. It does not make sense. It doesn't make sense at all, especially considering the circumstances. It just doesn't make sense.
You didn't hear, Sean, that Notre Dame's transitioning to an 8-man football team, so that they moved all their talent inside?
Is that what happened? That's what happened. I stand by it. I stand by it. The best tackle on the team is injured right now.
Sure.
The best tackle on the team is injured, and he currently does play tackle.
You're not even going to convince me anymore that Joe Rudolph knows what he's doing as a run blocker. Sorry, I'm there. Go look at Notre Dame's past rushing performances since IU.
Since the 98-yard touchdown run, yes, they haven't run the ball on anybody.
Horrible. You averaged 4.2 yards a carry against Georgia. Why was that your team average? And when I mean why was it as high as 4.2? Because Jaden Thomas had 1 rush for 7 yards, and Riley Leonard put on the Superman cape. You averaged 2.8 yards a carry as a team against Penn State, and Jaden Thomas had 1 carry for 18 yards. And as a team against Ohio State, you had 26 carries for 53 yards. And then tonight, Jeremiah Love averages 3.3 yards a carry. I can't even get on board with he sucks as a pass blocking coach, but at least he can run block coach well.
My thing is they improved from 23 to 24.
Sure.
Against teams that weren't
absolutely.
good, to your point. And I thought against A&M, Trev, like, okay, they figured it out. But to your point, the last 4 teams you've played have had pretty good defensive lines, and you're not only not running it well, you're getting whipped.
100%. And I know nobody on this channel saying this either. I'm done with but it was Ruben Bain. And we also, but it was Denai Dennis Sutton. But it was Mikhail Kamara. Who do you think you're going to play
Notre
in the
Dame,
postseason?
man. It's O-line U.
Who do you think you're going to play in the postseason? I hate to break it to you, but you're not going to face Kent State, Stanford, and Purdue. Sorry. You're just not. You're just not.
No, they lost to Hawaii.
Like,
Maybe
I
it was just Harry.
Honestly, it's time to have a legitimate conversation. You want to know why it's been so bad? You know why why I'm so frustrated with some of the things that happened in tonight's game? It's because I watched Notre Dame go on every podcast in America and talk about how amazing Jeremiah Love was. I watched Joe Rudolph go on the Joe Moore Award podcast and talk about how they handed everybody little index cards about their goals. And it's like, then show me. Then show me what your goals are. You could talk about it all. You could go to New York and go on Good Morning America and the Today Show and ESPN and CBS. But if you come out and you get worked in the trenches like you do, then I don't care what your mantra is of, we're trenches first and we're built around the offensive and defensive line. Obviously not, because if you were, you wouldn't put your redshirt freshman quarterback in those situations. If you were truly built in the trenches, you can miss me with that until you show me otherwise, because you weren't built in the trenches against Georgia. You weren't built in the trenches against Penn State. You weren't built in the trenches against Ohio State. And now you weren't again tonight. I don't care what you look like when Stanford comes to town and you rattle off 49 straight points.
Yeah.
If your team identity is what you do against really bad competition, then you have a ceiling as a program, and it's not that high. And I hate to break it to you, Riley Leonard, and this isn't a shot at CJ Carr, but I'm just saying Riley Leonard is not walking back through that door to put on the Superman cape.
To bail out the offensive line is what you're saying.
Exactly.
It's not a shot at CJ Carr, correct?
Like, hate to break it to you, you're not going to convince me the best 5 offensive linemen are on the field. You're not. Everything needs to be reevaluated. Exactly.
Not where they should be. Right.
Exactly. Like, it's not just Anthony Knapp specific, which he played horribly tonight, but it's not just him specific. Every single person along the offensive line needs reevaluated from now until September 13th when Texas A&M comes to town. Because if you think an SEC defensive front is going to just be like, well, Anthony Knapp had cramps last game, so we should take it easy on him. Hey guys, Ashton Craig only has played 7 games in college. We should take it easy on him and let him gain some momentum. Until I get shown otherwise about the offensive line, that is the most show me group on the entire team. And I'll have a lot to say when we get to defense too, but until I see and actually see the best 5 on the field, until I see pass protection get improved, I'm out on it, man, because I've heard it so much, and dude.
Until we see the best 5 be put on the field without needing injuries to require it to happen, which is what happened in 23 and 24, we didn't get the lines we were supposed to get until injuries forced them to do that. So last 3 games, Notre Dame has run the ball for 117 yards, 53 yards, and 98 yards. I'm not great at math, but I'm pretty sure that's less than 100 yards a game. Your last 3 games. That's been a good against key teams. Your O-line,
Yep.
I watched Notre Dame with Harry Heastand run for 500 yards on a BC team that had Zach Allen and Harold Landry on it. I watched Notre Dame run for over 300 yards with a defensive line that had 4 guys that got picked in the first 4 rounds of the draft. One of them was the number 5 overall pick. I'm tired of the whole, but it's against good teams. It's frustrating. And look, I've heard Joe Rudolph's a great guy, and I'm sure he is. So was Jeff Quinn. Jeff Quinn is actually one of the nicest men I've ever met in the coaching profession, but he just wasn't good enough. And right now, in year 3, it's 1 game. Well, they're going to bounce, but let's say they bounce back and run all over Texas A&M. Cool. So did Texas San Antonio. Great. You did exactly what Texas San Antonio did. We're not going to really see this team get tested like this again until maybe not until the postseason, not till the playoff. So it's is it really better? And look, I don't think the play calling necessarily helped, but I'm telling you, man, I don't think it just didn't look like the game plan of a guy that believed he had the best offensive line on the field. Just didn't. And that was frustrating.
So what do? Going into these big games against good teams?
Well, the head coach needs
just going to keep giving your best running backs 15 to 16 attempts.
They need to sit down and have a conversation about who's playing where. That's the and honestly, a little bit of a butt chewing is needed for the offensive lineman, because I didn't think they didn't play they weren't soft. They weren't afraid of they just didn't play with fire tonight. Right? Is that fair to say? I hate when people oh, you guys are soft. No, they weren't soft. They weren't out there playing like punks. They weren't doing any of that stuff. But they also didn't play with that real fire that you need to see in a game like this. We're coming off and, man, the pads are popping. You know, like you're taking the fight to them. Get a body on a body and then let the running backs cook. They didn't do that. So, again, I'm not trying to, I think they're look, you got 2 team captains on your offensive line. They should be the ones going into the locker room and saying, hey, we didn't play good enough. This is on us. That's what leaders do, and then fix it. A perfect example, guys, and this is why I'm not writing the season off, is because we saw what happened last year against Northern Illinois. We saw how that team responded. They came out the next week and destroyed Purdue. But I also remember back in 2017 when Notre Dame lost to Georgia, and I remember how Drew Tranquill reacted to that after the game. But what you saw him say after the game is exactly what you saw that team come out and do for the next couple months. How this team responds to this is going to be so key, and how the offensive line plays against A&M, not from a production standpoint, because, again, we just watched UTSA run all over Texas A&M in that game, okay? But it's more about how they play. If we don't see an offensive line that comes out on Saturday, 2 weeks from now, less than 2 weeks from now, and play pissed off, then I'm going to question what kind of leadership this team actually has on offense. Because I watched your redshirt freshman quarterback who's never played a meaningful down play his absolute freaking butt off tonight. I watched your smallest offensive player by far, Jordan Faison, play his absolute freaking butt off tonight. And I watched Notre Dame's big guys get worked in this game. Now, some of it's going to be Gerby and Sully are playing their first games. They're also playing their first meaningful snaps, and they're going to get better. And I can live with Gerby Lambert's mistakes. I can live with Sullivan Absher's mistakes, and they both made some big mistakes tonight. I can live with that because they're first-time starters basically playing their first meaningful snaps, just like I can live with C.J. Carr's mistakes. What I can't live with is watching your senior right tackle, who's a team captain, get annihilated in big moments in the game. That I can't live with.
Agreed.
I can't live with your 16-game starter at left tackle just continue to get worked whenever he plays a powerful offensive. And again, that's not even a Nap problem. That's a why are you putting him out there problem. You knew who you were going to face in this game.
Mm-hmm.
And then what did you do about it? Where's the boots? Where's the things to try to take advantage of how aggressive they were playing there? You ran a screen late in the game. That might probably would have been there earlier in the game. To the running back I'm referring to. That's where I'm at, man. I'm not even mad at Anthony Knapp. Anthony Knapp played as well as he could have. I mean, he tried. You're putting him in bad spots because as good of a player as I think Anthony Knapp is talent-wise, he's just not a fit at left tackle. He's not good in space. It's a different animal playing left tackle than it is playing guard. And it's again, third year in a row. Third year in a row, we're sitting there looking at the offensive line. And we mentioned it in the offseason, but hey, I'm hoping, I'm hearing good things. I'm hoping that this is going to be different. But it wasn't.
Let's spin it to the other side of the football, guys, and let's talk. First of all, everybody, thank you for joining us on the post-game show here at Irish Breakdown, sponsored by FanDuel, and we're breaking this thing down. Notre Dame's 27-24 loss to Miami. We just got done talking about the offense and kind of our gut reactions. We're going to spin it across to the other side of the football and talk a little defense and what we saw from the defense. This is coordinator Chris Ash's first attempt as Notre Dame's defensive coordinator, and I will say it probably could have gone a little bit better, Trevor.
Yeah, I agree. I mean, look, this was the side that really fired me up because there were some things identity-wise that I did not love. Like schematically, look, there are some things that I just have to look at, and I can't wait to go back and dive into the film. But there are just some things schematically that it's like, okay, look, this is his first time calling a defense in college in 5 years, and it's Notre Dame's first time implementing it in a game. Even Corey Heatherman, who I thought called a heck of a game tonight, that even happened when they released Eli Raridan and he had that long play. So, issues will happen. Where a lot of my issues lied was with the identity of what this defense was doing. But I'll get into that in a little bit. What went right? Boubacar Traore's back. There are some questions around what's his workload going to look like, and is he going to be able to take on a full workload of being a starting defensive end? Boubacar's back. Made me feel good, and I think he's only going to continue to improve. Josh Burnham was their best defensive end tonight against the run. I thought he was fantastic.
God, yes.
I thought he was absolutely fantastic tonight. I also thought against the run, I thought Gabe Rubio put in some work. He did like the unsexy, ugly work that's just not going to get a lot of recognition. But there was a significant difference when 97 was along the interior in rush defense. So I thought that was a positive. And then in the second half, I didn't always love how it looked, but I loved the result of after the first drive of the second half. And then unfortunately the drive where it mattered to prevent them from getting into field goal range. In between there to help get Notre Dame's offense back in the game, the defense locked in when they needed to. So as much as I say that,
I appreciate that, Trev, because I think that's going to get lost in the shuffle just a little bit because of the missteps and they did get Notre Dame the football back on a few different occasions there in the second half. It was the way they started the second half, the way they ended the second half that everybody's going to remember.
What matters?
Which is
not
and I don't
giving up
disagree with
points
you.
every time the other team touches the ball is not like this giant victory. Like
100%.
You know what I mean?
I'm not saying it's a giant victory. I'm saying it should be pointed out, though, because they did help Notre Dame come back in this game because they were down by 14.
Notre Dame defense did not give up points every time Miami was on the field. You are correct.
Hey, glass half full, baby. All right? That's why I'm in education.
Yeah, go ahead. Keep going, Trev. Keep going.
But with that being said, to Brian's point, the expectation is that you don't give up points on every drive. I'm there. Overall, identity-wise, this is what I have a problem with. One, Marcus Freeman preaches and preaches and preaches and preaches about winning the middle eight. Your defense got absolutely cooked in the middle eight of this game. Absolutely annihilated in the middle eight of this game. Miami goes, drives down the field. And yes, I know the takeaway is going to be what an insane catch by C.J. Daniels, which it was, by the way. Leonard Moore played that horribly. Adon Schuler, even though Leonard Moore got beat on the double move, might have played it even worse. Very passive play. And passive, I think, is the best way to talk about how this defense played tonight. They absorbed contact. They waited for things to come to them. You saw it in the run game. We saw it at moments in the pass game. And I don't like that identity as a defense. I know it's going to look different than Al Golden's defense. Chris Ash, if you're going to talk all offseason about how this isn't my defense and this isn't this and it's not this is the Notre Dame defense, then run the Notre Dame defense then. Good Lord. I mean, the Notre Dame defense isn't absorbing contact and waiting for things to come to you and seeing what it's going to look like and giving up 7-8 yard under routes every single time. I hated the passive play. It was infuriating to watch. Absolutely.
And it's not a player thing. That's what they were. They weren't turning them loose. There was no certainty with what their expectations were. Like everything was just methodical. There was no urgency. There was no fire with what they were doing. Like the play by Adon Schuler, I get what Adon was trying to do. He's trying to pick off the pass. You got to be more aggressive going after the football. To your point, Trevor, there was no attacking tonight. There were some players that did. I thought you mentioned Gabriel Rubio. Josh Burnham was a monster setting the edge in the run game in this. I mean, he just was a monster setting the edge in the run game. I thought Jared Dawson was pretty darn good in this game too. I thought Jared was very active in this game.
Yep.
But there just was like people talk about Donovan Heiss getting blown off the ball. There was way too many times that happened. But again, why are you lining him up to the right side of the offensive line against a couple monsters and asking him to hold up and two gap? That's on you.
That part.
Slant. Let him twit. Like, why are you? We saw this last year against Northern Illinois. They kept putting Donovan in the middle and just asking him to come off and base block, and he's getting destroyed off the line. And then when Howard went down, and they put Donnie in there, they started letting him move and slant and twist, and he was making plays. Well, you're asking a 277-pound defensive tackle to go up against a 350-pound guard in basically a base block type of situation. That's not on Donovan Heinisch. That's on you.
Yep.
Why'd you put him in that situation?
The personnel groupings were in the game. Yeah, the personnel groupings were terrible tonight. I didn't understand the rotations. Somebody explained to me why Devontae Smith was exclusively seeing multiple, like, consecutive drives not on the field. Was he hurt? Did it get addressed in the post-game press conference? What happened? The personnel group is, to your point, Donnie Heinisch had a rough night. That's not all on him. It's just not.
Right.
Just isn't.
We said the same thing about him against Northern Illinois last year. Remember that?
Mm-hmm.
We complained about that in the post-game show, and we said then it's not on Jeremiah Love, or on Donovan Heinisch. So again, this isn't just a unique thing to Chris Ash, but it's like, why does it take a game like this to happen before you start not putting him in those positions?
Especially after a sample size of seeing what happened when you asked him to do it. At least with Northern Illinois last year, it was like, well, we tried it and you watched it not work, and then you did it again. What are we doing? That is a crazy mindset to me. Definition of insanity. Doing the same thing over and over again and just hoping for a different result. What was going to change? Spoiler alert, last year on the depth chart and on their roster, Donovan Heinisch was still south of 280. That part didn't change. That's not his fault. He wouldn't be the same athlete if they made him be 310 pounds. But why would you ask him to do the same thing that didn't work? Why would you put that kid in that position?
Yep.
Mind-blowing. Absolutely mind-blowing.
Some of the third down calls, Sean, also left me scratching my head. Like, you're in the third and 9 and you go zone.
Yeah.
With this personnel, you go zone. And Jaden Osbury played that route terribly. But you went zone on 3rd and 9.
Going back to what Trev pointed out and then you pointed out, it was the mindset, right? And I go back to, because Chris Ash really never gave you anything in his press conferences. Like, nothing. It was just coach speak. But the one thing he kept harping on was like fundamentals. And I'm like, wait a minute, was fundamentals not taught the previous 2 seasons when they were a dominant defense? Like, why is it so much focus on fundamentals? I just didn't understand. And then to see tonight, they were playing like a step and a half slow. They didn't have any enthusiasm. It was almost like they were thinking too much. And then you get the score, you kick off, you tie the game up, you kick off, and then you go to like this prevent almost. Like, you're allowing swing passes to go for like 10 yards out the back.
No cover zones, yeah.
No covers. I'm like, what is going on? What is this? Like, Al Golden would be trying to get the ball back. He literally would be aggressive. We're coming at you. We're trying to get the ball right back to the offense before the half. And we're hanging back, allowing them to move the ball down the field. And then when they get on the other side, now we want to try to tighten up. And I'm like, nah. I just wasn't happy with the mindset. Calling plays, execution, it all has to work together, right? You can call it a perfect play. If the guys don't execute it, you can say that was a bad call coming out of the timeout with the double move with Leonard Moore. With heck, if Leonard Moore plays it better than Don Schuler plays it better, it could turn into a pick. Like, both have to be hand in hand with the coaches and the players. But you don't strip this team of who they are. And the coaches, I believe, tonight stripped these players of who they are, offensively and defensively. You didn't even give them an opportunity to be who they are. You have to allow them and put them in position for them to be who they are. If you are a man-to-man team primarily, you can't fear getting beat. You have to trust your guys are going to do what they're supposed to do. You have to trust that. And if it happens, you bring them over to the side and you coach them up. Say, we're not going to let that happen again. But the last thing you do is operate from a place of fear or prevent. Like, we don't want to get beat over the top. You know, we don't want to give up the big play. It's like, come on, man. That's not who this defense is. That's not their identity. They want to get after the quarterback and they want to cover. That's their identity. They want to play fast. They want to hit. I would much rather a Don Shula took C.J. Daniels' head off. Forget the interception. But just hit him dead in his sternum, and he's not catching that ball.
But that's the mindset thing, though, Sean, right, that you're talking about. It's like, even if he would have gone for the interception, he didn't do it aggressively enough. He was like waiting on the ball to come to him. Like that Drake Bowen tonight, just like letting things come to him. That's what they were clearly asking him to do, because when Kingston was a Mike, they were doing the same thing. I mean, it was like what the limits, the things we have seen from this team in fall camp, and the things we saw from these same defenders last year, fast, flying to the ball, all that kind of stuff. It was all very this wasn't that. Now, part of that is I do think Shannon Dawson did a really nice job tonight with some man beaters type and some different type of things. But it's easier to do those things when your quarterback gets into a rhythm. And one of my keys to victory was you can't let him get comfortable. You gotta cover aggressively, and you've got to attack the quarterback. And you can't let him sit back the way he did. Now, late in the game, they started getting a little pressure on him, and he was missing guys, and you get him off the field, and then you get the ball at the end of the game, and it's kind of back to what it was before. Pin your ears back and go.
Yeah.
Get beat being aggressive. If that guy's just better than me, then he's better than me. And we didn't see that, Trev. I mean, but like to your point, Sean, actually, I'm sorry, I said Trev, Sean, back to Sean. But like to your point though, Sean, it's like that mistake, lay him out. Whatever he was going to do it aggressively, because that's who you are. And like we didn't see Drake Bowen playing Drake Bowen's game tonight. The only time we saw Kingston make a couple nice plays when he was coming off the edge in a completely different situation. But there was no like, hey, we're going to go after you and we're going to attack you. There was none of that. It was kind of they let Miami. Here's what it comes down to from a coaching standpoint. They let Miami, Sean, dictate the pace of this game and the attitude of this game. Like, that's what I'm talking about. Like, that's, you know what I mean, Sean? Like, so you're talking about come and lay them out, but when your mindset is the way that it was, you're not going to make that kind of play because you're not being aggressive. You're not coming in and playing that way. You're letting Miami dictate the tempo tonight. You're letting Miami dictate the terms. They're spreading you out. They're doing this, they're doing that. And you let them tell you what to do. You're Notre Dame, man. Like, you've got way too much talent on this defense, way too much experience to sit back and do that. It made no sense to me. Sorry for interrupting, Sean, but that triggered something in my head that play by Adon was a symbol of what we saw tonight on defense.
And I don't think they challenged. The offensive line for Miami is good at run blocking. That's what they want to do, particularly on the right side. But you didn't challenge them. The one time you challenged them from a look in a key third down situation in the fourth quarter, where you had your linebackers in the gaps and gave them a look like 5 or 6 may be coming, and it ended up being 3, and you got a sack. And you never gave them different looks. You just let them see, this is what we're doing. We're bringing 4. We might bring 5. And you just let them be comfortable all night long. But the moment you showed something and then gave them something different, oh, voila, it turned into a negative play for you. So just disappointed in the lack of creativity and the lack of aggression. just a lack of creativity and a lack of aggression defensively. And like you said, you have Malachi Tony is, that kid is going to be a good player. He's going to be a good player. CJ Daniels made a heck of a catch. But outside of that, like you said, you were disappointed with Leonard Moore just not being aggressive at the top of the stems and giving up
Just not
separation.
being sound. Just not being sound, like overrunning plays. Like, yeah, it was, yeah.
Almost like you're scared to get beat over. Like, these kids can't outrun you. Like, be sticky. And I actually think it was 4 consecutive drives, Vince, that you pointed out. 4 consecutive drives in the second half where they kind of shut Miami down after giving up that initial drive.
Yeah, something like that.
To start the second half. And we thought they found something. And then, they come out, they get the ball after Notre Dame ties the ball up. And it's the first pass to CJ Daniels, Carson Hobbs just didn't even want to tackle or just wanted to hop on his back for a ride. I don't know what he was trying to do. That ends up in a 7-yard gain. Then they convert. Then you get the shot, and Christian Gray gets the pass interference. Then they get on the other side of the 50. Then they have a 3rd and 2 coming out. You hit them a yard short of the first down, and they just push the pile another 2-3 yards. It's just, lack of aggression. When you need a play to be made, didn't make the play. And at that point in the game, Miami just wanted it more. They just wanted it more. So you just have to tip your cap. But this, we knew, for me, saying that they lacked aggression is very similar to the questionable double safety blitz on 3rd down at Ohio State in Al Golden's first year. Like, first game, you're like, oh, man, what in the world is that? So I think Chris Ash still has time,
sure,
to get things together. But I'm much more comfortable with the double safety blitz trying to be aggressive than being passive. Okay, you beat us. You beat my freshman defensive back.
That's more of what made that a bad call. Is Tariq Bracy went out, you put in a true freshman, Jaden Mickey, and still ran it. I don't know that we'd be feeling the same way about that being a bad call if they would have had their starting personnel on the field. It was yeah. Trev, you mentioned something too in the chat about and you were spot on about the linebacker. Like, even the pressures we saw from the linebackers didn't seem to have a whole lot of. There just wasn't much to them. Till later in the game, we saw a little bit, but definitely not for most of the game.
Linebacker blitzes just aren't creative. I can't tell you how many times I sit down on my couch and I'm watching a Notre Dame game, and it's just a double A gap blitz with both of their linebackers. Never gets home. I'm not opposed to blitzing your linebackers, especially if your front four can't get home. Be creative. And I'm not counting lining Kingston up on the edge as an edge rusher as a linebacker blitz. I'm not counting that as a linebacker blitz. If you are going to send additional pressure, get creative with it. Don't just ask Kingston or Drake or Jaden or any one of the 4 linebackers that you rotated in tonight to just slam into the A gap and hope it gets home. Because at some point you do have to look at your defensive line and say, okay, they're just not getting home on the front 4 consistently. And so you're going to have to find some way to dial up pressure. We talked about that on Thursday, Brian. If you let Carson Beck get comfortable, he can just be a point guard. And that is exactly what he did tonight. These are the games that are just deceiving to look at. These are the games where you can't just go look at a box score. If you would have told me tonight, if you would have told me on Saturday that at the end of the game, Miami was going to average 6.6 yards per attempt and then you were going to tell me that they averaged 3.1 yards per carry, I would have asked you, how much did Notre Dame win by? But this is why you can't just look at the numbers. You brought up a very key word earlier in the show, Brian, and you said it was methodical. What Miami did when they needed to be methodical, they were. They went on a 7.5-minute drive to open up the half. Second half. It's methodical. You absolutely ate the clock at the end of the first half. Drove down, you ran 2 minutes. You ran the ball half the time. It's not like Carson Beck picked you apart for 2 minutes. And so it's just, if you're going to find different ways to dial up pressure, get creative with it. It's a new defensive coordinator, but the linebacker blitzes are still the same. It's the same story. We're left sitting here after a big game talking about the lack of a pass rush. And even in their big moments last year, even in big games last year, outside of the Georgia game, which was the outlier, you weren't really able to generate that much pressure against USC. It was okay against Indiana. Your offense helped you out a lot against Indiana, going on a 9-minute, like 45-minute of real-time drive. The pass rush was non-existent against Penn State and Ohio State. And so we're seeing this trend, like I talked about with the offensive line, about you get to those big games and it's just like, okay, this just isn't anything. I'm tired of the takeaway being, last season, it was, gosh, man, I mean, did you see what Riley Mills and Howard Cross did against Florida State, man? They ate them alive. Well, I would hope so, because they were the worst FBS team in the P4 last year. I'd hope so. Man, did you watch them tear up Stanford? Sure did. Would hope so. And I'm really hoping that narrative starts to change this year. And I'm hoping it's not, they weren't really there around A&M. They weren't really there with Miami. They were spotty against USC, but Ryan Brown had no time to throw when they hosted Purdue. Got to change. You got to find a way to generate pressure, because this conversation's getting real tiresome. Real tiresome.
On the stops that Notre Dame had after the first touchdown drive of the second half, the next drive they came out and they ran 6 yards right down the throat, ran a now screen for 3 yards, and on 3rd and 1, the running back slipped and fell. Maybe he gets it, maybe he doesn't. The next drive, they ran outside zone for 6. Then on 2nd and 4, got called for holding. That put him back to 2nd and 14, and they ended up getting a sack. So that was a good stop, but Miami helped themselves. And then the next drive, Miami got a field goal. So it's like, was that necessarily Notre Dame stopping them? To me, it wasn't until Notre Dame kicked the field goal to make it, was it 24-17? Is that when they kicked the field goal, right? I thought that next drive, I thought they were really good. And they pinned their ears back a little bit and kind of went after him. And Beck threw a couple off his back foot and he missed. You guys don't and then when they tied it, it's like they went back. They went back to what they were doing. When they were behind, they started kind of going, and then they just came back and it was like the same thing again. We saw it again. We saw the defense kind of give that up again. And then they just kind of ran it down their throat and
once
took advantage of the off coverage and just dinked and dunked their way back to it, and they went away from what was stopping them.
Once Notre Dame tied the game to make it 24-24, it was almost like, okay, like let's just only allow a field goal. It was almost like that was the defensive mindset, because once Miami got into field goal range, defense kind of pinned their ears back a little bit and they stoned them. But up until that point, it's like, all right, guys, we have 3 timeouts left. As long as we don't give up a touchdown here, we're in pretty good shape. At least that's what it looked like. And so, yeah, I agree completely.
All right. Well, we have a ton of super chats to get to, guys. Do you want to jump into those?
I want to stick to kind of what your game plan was about the show, Vince, because I do think we need to at least have a little segment here about where do they go from here. I mean, because we've been very critical and negative about the performance of this game, and rightfully so. But I don't feel the same way after this game that I necessarily did after the first game of the first loss of last year. I don't feel after this game the way that I did against Louisville a couple years ago. You know what I mean? Where it's like, this team is cooked. Like, there's the things that we're talking about are all fixable. And we're cutting the show up, Vince. We'll just have this along with the super chats because we don't need to make it like a 20, 30-minute segment. But all this stuff is correctable. And while I'm frustrated with the job Marcus Freeman did getting his team prepared tonight and the lack of adjustments we saw, you know, like, and I think Sean pointed out, I'm tired of them needing a game like this to get to that point in time, but they have shown the ability to bounce back from this. That's the reality of it. And I'm not happy about it. I'm disappointed. But at the same time, these are all correctable things. The key to the season is going to be, can you correct it? Just like last year. Can you correct it? Do you recognize the things that went wrong tonight are bigger than just, in some instances, are bigger than just, we didn't execute or I would have made a different call here. Right. And I think what Marcus Freeman recognized after the Northern, it wasn't even after Northern Illinois. I think it's more so after Miami of Ohio. Because I think the Purdue game gave them a false sense of we're going to be okay because of just how bad Purdue was. The Miami performance of last year, the other Miami, is when I think we saw this team realize, like, hey, we can't keep doing this. We got to figure some stuff out. I wish it didn't take a loss for this team to figure it out, but here we are again. But this should not be the season is over type of thing. Look, guys, Notre Dame lost at home in week 2 to Northern Illinois and not only made the playoff, but hosted. The season is not over yet. We have a coaching staff on offense as an offensive coordinator. Like, I didn't love Mike Denbrock's game plan tonight. You know what? Every single offensive coordinator in the country has bad games, just like players have bad games. I've seen way too much from Mike Denbrock successful to think that this is a guy still learning his personnel, learning who his quarterback is, learning who his receivers are, basically playing the first half in rain. He'll be fine. No, I didn't love the game plan tonight. He'll be fine. But you do got to figure some things out on the offensive line. You do have to figure some things out when it comes to being able to run the football against better teams. You do have to figure some things out defensively and find answers, just like we've seen Marcus Freeman and his staff do in the past. I do think it needs to be pointed out that the season is not over yet. The season will be a disappointment if they don't properly address the issues and then correct them. And some things are minor corrections. Some things are more significant. And that was also true against Northern Illinois last year. I mean, we're sitting here after that game saying, where are the leaders? Where's the leadership? Well, it's kind of similar to what we're talking about tonight. Where was the toughness? Where was the ability to respond? Well, you know what? Tonight, for all the things that I'm frustrated by, this team answered. When Miami went up, what was it, 21-7, I was like, okay. And then the offense went, 3 and out? I think on the next drive, they went 3 and out. Then the defense forced a 3 and out. And Notre Dame's offense got the ball back and went down and scored a touchdown. They didn't quit. Like, they didn't stop battling. The defense did not execute on the final drive. It's not like they weren't trying. You got to play here, play there, clean some stuff up, and you win despite the fact that you didn't play well tonight. So those things definitely got to get fixed. But everything that happened here tonight is pretty much correctable and can be corrected quickly if they're willing to actually recognize what those things are and then, properly and then actually address them. Like, that's going to be the key, right? Is properly addressing the mistakes, properly addressing some of the things in preparation, properly addressing some of the personnel decisions, saying, hey, here's what we got to fix, but then also not overreacting to everything because you don't just remake your team in 2 weeks. So I do think it's important for us to mention that before we go to the super chats. And if you guys want to chime in at all, feel free. Because, no, this is not a season is over thing. Anyone saying that the season over with is honestly, you're being emotional, which I get. We're fans. You're emotional.
And you're allowed to be emotional the night of. That's fine.
Sure. But it's not. It's not. I get your frustration because you're like, if we keep playing like this, we're going to lose more. Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
Just like they would have lost a bunch more if they'd have kept playing like they did against Northern Illinois.
Right.
Right. We've seen this staff has a track record of that. I wish they would stop needing games like this to do that. But, you know, the reality is they have shown the willingness to do that and make those adjustments. And now they need to do it again. So, no, the season is not over. But you do have to fix some stuff. There needs to be some look in the mirror moments first with coaching. And, you know, the good thing is, Sean, that is something that we've always seen from Marcus Freeman. I think you were talking about this on the show recently. Or no, maybe it was Trev. But in the past, when this team failed, he would genuinely look in the mirror and say, this was on me, and then fix it. Now he's got to do that again.
He's been doing that since he was a defensive coordinator, and he had his first game at Florida State. Remember all that? And so, look, if we're talking about where this team needs to go and what this looks like in big picture and all of that kind of stuff, look, we were sitting in a similar situation about a year ago, and then Notre Dame rattles off, 10 straight wins and the whole deal. Look, it's a lot. I mean, how many times did we have to boot somebody out of the chat or have a conversation with somebody because all they could say was, Northern Illinois. Look, losing to Northern Illinois at home is a heck of a lot different than losing to a top 10 team on the road. I'm not excusing either one of them, but on paper, one is way more legitimate than the other, okay? And again, Miami made some pretty impressive plays in this game to win this game. Again, they made the plays, and so you got to tip your cap and all of that stuff, and they won it in the trenches and everything we already talked about. Notre Dame played pretty poorly in this game and lost by 3 points, and we're on the verge of going to overtime, on the road against a top 10 team.
Just need one stop.
You know what I mean?
They weren't going to go over. If they make a stop there, they aren't going to overtime. They're going to win the game. That's what was so like.
I felt pretty good about the offense.
If they made a stop there, the offense was kind of starting to compete up a little bit. They were going to go down and score.
So, I mean, if you take a step back, and everything we said is accurate, by the way, everything we said negative is accurate. But if you take a step back and you look big picture, Notre Dame played very, very poorly and had an opportunity at the end of this game to win. Okay, so there's stuff to take out of this game.
In clutch moments, Miami's players made the plays and made the calls and made the adjustments, and Notre Dame's didn't.
100%.
But again, to your point, this isn't 2017. This isn't, this isn't a beatdown. This isn't like, oh my God, we were so wrong about this team. That's also why I'm frustrated because I don't think we're wrong about this team as far as the talent they have. That's what's so frustrating about it.
Yes. No, I completely agree with that. So, that's the one thing I'm going to take out of this moving forward. And again, they're going to have 2 weeks, right? We saw 7 different offensive linemen play today, Brian. There's tape of some other guys doing some things. So, let's see what happens there, right? There's tweaks that you can make personnel-wise. There's obviously tweaks you can make game plan-wise and preparation-wise, all of those things. But I can tell you right now, it doesn't get any easier. You don't have a Purdue that you get to play in the next game like you had last year after Northern Illinois, right? Now, they went out and spanked Purdue, okay? They played well against Purdue, right? But you don't have Purdue. You have Texas A&M. Now, Texas A&M has their faults as well, but they're still an SEC team. They're still coached by Mike Elko. They still got a lot of dudes on their roster. And they're coming to town.
And if you play against them like you did tonight, you're
going to lose.
You're going to have tough time.
Or you're going to have a tough time
winning.
You're going to have a tough time, right? So, you've got to flip the switch here a little bit. Now, you have 2 weeks to do it. And again, like you said earlier, they can sit in this for a little bit. That could be good. That could be bad, depending on how it goes. But again, you better bring your A game or pretty darn close to it in the first home game of the year because Texas A&M's coming with some revenge on their mind from last year, right? So it's not Purdue. You don't have a get right game. You have a game that you need to be good at. So there's going to be some questions, and I hope they do. And Marcus Freeman is a leader in the manner that he does challenge everything. He does look in the mirror. He does take accountability. He just needs to pass that along to his staff and make them accountable as well. And the players, of course, they're the ones that actually have to go out and do it. But just like anywhere else, right? It's a pyramid. It starts at the top, right? And so you have to hold every level accountable. and hopefully that takes place over the next 2 weeks.
Yeah.
Vince,
Last thing.
Go
Ahead, Sean. Look.
No, I'll say, Vince, I agree with you. I just don't trust it. Because all decisions that ended up working out came from injuries taking place. I just don't. I've seen the decisions.
On the O-line or just in general?
O-line. I thought that's what I thought Vince was talking about. So, he was talking about O-line that played. There's tape out there. Yeah. All right. So what are you going to do with it? Because the evaluation leading into the season, the last 2 springs and summers, the best 5 weren't on the field. That's what we've seen for 2 straight years, that the best 5 don't end up starting at the beginning of the season for 2 straight off seasons. And the only reason, 3, I'm sorry, I shorted one.
Billy Shroud should have started in 2023 at left guard over Pat Coogan. We complained about that all year. And then when he got put in the starting lineup, he started running the ball.
And I'm sure there was plenty of film, Vince. Plenty of film, plenty of practice film. I just don't trust it. I just don't trust it. So I hope you're right. I hope there are some jobs put up for competition, some things that are thought about a second time. But I just, at this point, I don't trust it. And I understand why the players that transferred didn't trust it. Like
100%. And we talked about that too. Like, why would Rocco Spindler believe he's going to have a legitimate shot to win a starting job when he didn't get one last year? And like we talked about how, Jagasol played so well against Penn State, blah, blah, blah. Well, he wouldn't have in the game if it wasn't for an injury. He would not have played a snap in the last 2 games of the season last year if it wasn't for Anthony Knapp and Rocco Spindler getting hurt. And Rocco went in those games injured. And Rocco's playing on a bum ankle against Penn State, and they still wouldn't put Jagasol in the game. Not even, start Rocco. He deserved, but you didn't have him teed up to play the 3rd series. So, yeah.
Last thing I'll say before we get to Super Chats, it's how I look at it. I'm not even concerned about Marcus Freeman's leadership. I think that is something that he has kind of earned over the last couple of seasons. We've seen him as a coach bounce back and make the necessary moves. This is where my concern lies, is with the leadership of the captains, because this is a young group. This is the caveat to have. As exciting as it was to say that 5 of Notre Dame's 6 captains can return in 2026, the flip side of that coin is in moments like this, in a stretch that's going to be very crucial to how the rest of the season goes, because I'm on board with you guys. This is not the end-all, be-all. I watched this team lose to Northern Illinois at home and play for a national championship.
And just destroy a bunch of people after that.
Yes. So the season's not over, but what the difference is your captains last year were all really experienced guys. Xavier Watts, Riley Mills, Jack Kaiser, Riley Leonard. And all 6 of your captains tonight struggled in some capacity. I can't say Will Pauling struggled because I know he played. I don't remember seeing him a whole lot, but I know
seeing him was the pass interference penalty.
Yep. But
I don't remember him at all.
But outside of that, a lot of your captains kind of struggled tonight for various reasons. Defensively, I think it was a little bit more what they were asked to do. And then offensively, it was, look, when you needed the fire from your offensive line, you have 2 of your 16 captains are along the offensive line. And they weren't able to bring the juice. We are going to find out a lot about the player leadership of this team from now until they play Texas A&M. That's where my concern is. It's not necessarily with Freeman. I have concerns from the coaching staff, but the player-led leadership is going to be one that is going to be very telling from now until the next time they take the field. That's for sure.
Yeah.
All right, let's get to some Super Chats, fellas. We got a bunch to get to, and we really appreciate everybody putting these in here. We will do the best that we can to get through every single one of them. So to start off with, Hunter Hall, thank you for the Super Chat. With the way CJ played and with such poise, we're winning the Natty this or the next. We have our guy, Miami. See you in the postseason.
I love the enthusiasm. I love looking for a ray of sunshine in an otherwise dark evening.
Joe, appreciate the Super Chat. I did get your messages tonight. but you can understand why I wasn't responding. Horrendous play calling and no urgency on defense. Ash looked lost and overmatched. You have a great running back. Where was he? Why start Carr if you're not going to trust him? Frustrated. Go Irish.
I get it. Joe had another one. No fire, no swag, no attitude. No, I mean, I get it, Joe. I get it. It was frustrating.
It was.
I actually think they trusted CJ.
I do too.
I was just about to say.
Yeah, they trusted him too much in certain situations. Like Brian said, don't give him an RPO option. Get the ball to 4. Run it.
Can I just say something about that real quick? I was not going to go here tonight, but I'm going to go here tonight. How do you go from 2 weeks ago, you weren't even sure if you're going to start him, to now you're putting the entire game plan on his shoulders?
Right.
Like maybe that there should have been more trust in what Gino saw, and this decision should have been sooner. Like where I understand where Marcus Freeman's coming from about, the turnovers, but that's Gino said it perfectly in his press conference. Like, look, that's part of practice. I want him to take some of those throws. I want him to test those boundaries. Because if you beat that out of him, that throw he makes to Malachi Fields, he never makes. The throw he makes to Eli Rarity, he never makes because he would have checked it off way before then. Like that's kind of my frustration. It's like this should have always been your guy. And yeah, Kenny, I love Kenny, and I'm glad he battled and made it closer, but like it just shouldn't have. It should have been that way. But anyway, like this is a guy that 2 weeks ago you weren't sure if you're going to start. Now all of a sudden you're putting the entire game plan on his shoulders. Like just, and then Marcus, Wood Amali McGrath was like, he goes, I knew it. Then why did you take so long to start him? If you just knew it. Did you guys hear that after the touchdown pass? Did you guys hear it? What did she say? He said, wasn't I knew it, but it was like something like, yeah, I knew it. I'm like, well, if you knew it, then you should have not waited till prep week to make the decision. And yeah, whatever.
Yeah, and everything that you said leading up to the game was totally contradicted by the game plan. You put it on his shoulders when you said we have to support him. That wasn't the game plan. So maybe you were trying to do Jedi mind trick on Miami going into the game and then surprise them with the game plan. But that CJ Carr leading the team in rushes and throwing for 200 yards is not going to be the way this team needs to play offense this year. It's not. As great. He's still a freshman. So he still has more mistakes that he's going to have to learn not to make during the course of this season. So I would hope going into Texas A&M, we would see a nice dose of 4 and 24, specifically early in the game, and take some shots if your offensive line can give him time early.
Pretty big if.
I mean, in order to take shots, you need protection.
That's right.
So, I mean, there's nothing you can do about that. But once again, I think something you pointed out that bears watching does Mike Denbrock trust the offensive line play. Like, if he's calling these types of plays, why is he doing that consistently against good teams?
Yep. Got another one about CJ from down here from where was it? From Antoine Johnson. I just saw that here a second ago. There we go. So just got to get a couple more since we're talking about CJ. We'll just get a couple more of these in there.
Sure. Yep. Thanks for the super chat, Antoine. Appreciate it. Tough L, Notre Dame, but I like CJ Carr. I told you he would be a good one for you, Brian. He's a gamer.
Antoine is our resident Michigan fan. I appreciate you, Antoine. You did like CJ Carr. Obviously I ranked him as a 5-star, so did I. But he's going to have to keep getting better and improving. But there's a lot of things you saw tonight that make you feel really good that he has the demeanor necessary to thrive, that he has the physical tools necessary to thrive, that he can handle the moment. You saw those things. Now it's just clean up some read decision-making, clean up some technical things, and just keep getting better. But yeah, he played well.
Philip, thanks for the super chat. Tough loss. We're also worried about Carr, and to be honest, he's the least of my worries after that game. Need to clean it up and turn to A&M. See, we could have just said that. The show would have been like 30 seconds long, Brian.
Yeah, wouldn't have been as much fun though. But I mean,
he's not wrong. I mean, everything you said is absolutely accurate, and I had a lot of faith in CJ coming into this game, and I know a lot of people had a lot of question marks about what he was going to be able to do and how he's going to do it, and the only thing that I questioned was the weather and whether they were going to actually throw it because of the rain. Didn't seem to slow him down with throwing the football, which, I mean, I really didn't think he was going to put the ball in the air 30 times. So, and he did. They trust him. There's no doubt about that.
30 times out of only 58 plays as well.
Yeah.
So they didn't run a lot of plays tonight.
Right. Yeah.
Super chat from Elmer Layden, and then thank you for that, Elmer. And then he had a follow-up here.
Elmer Layden. Okay. Just curious, but why does Ash like zone so much? Maybe he's not used to having the guys that are so good at man.
Well, I mean, look, it's like, why do some coaches like inside zone more than gap scheme? Or why do some coaches like gap scheme more than inside zone? Why do some coaches like air raid? Look, zone schemes and defense can work. I mean, it's just you've got to play to your personnel, though. Like, I don't have any issue with playing zone. Clark Lee played a ton of zone. Mike Elko played a lot of zone, and they were very good defensive coordinators. Marcus Freeman did not play this much zone when he was the D coordinator in 2021 because he didn't have Leonard Moore and Christian Gray at cornerback. I think the bigger issue is, and we're going to focus on some of the zone stuff. And look, there was plenty of calls that I didn't like about, why are they in zone here in this particular situation? You're not bringing pressure and things like that. But it's not so much that I have an issue with zone in theory. And I understand why Chris Ash likes zone. It allows you to cover more parts of the field. A lot of teams don't have the personnel to be a lot of man coverage. It helps you protect a little bit against the big play and the deep ball. There's a lot of things that come out of it that are effective if you have the personnel for it. And I just think their personnel is better suited to be, and especially in 3rd down 9, like line up and pressure and don't, take away the quick stuff and make Carson Beck hold on the ball just split second sooner and let your pass rush get to him. And there was too many times tonight where the pass rush was kind of starting to get there and he just check it down, hit a crosser, and those parts were frustrating.
Aiden Benami, thanks for the super chat. Say their names: J Love, J Price. We did.
Yeah.
Just the announcers didn't have a chance to. That's all. Mm-hmm. Coley McKeo, thank you very much for the super chat. Disappointed in our trench players on both sides. A few flashes, not enough to win. Were the wide receiver screens RPOs or just straight called screenplays?
Both. There were a couple times they were calls where it was an obvious screen, like the play where, what was it? I think it was the first drive. They called a screen. Let me get to that particular play. They called a screen on the first drive. It was the third play, the 3rd and 7 play to Jordan Faison. That was a tunnel screen because you've got Gerby Lambert going out to block a defensive back. That was a called screen. The first play of the game, that, in my opinion, was an RPO. The interception, I believe, was an RPO. I could be wrong on that, but the way it looked, the way they were blocking it, that looked like an RPO to me. So there's a little bit of both. Some of them were called plays. Some of them were RPOs. The little now screens out to the perimeter, just like catch it and throw. Most of those from what I saw were RPOs. Thank you for that, Coley.
Beezer 12 Washing Beard, thanks for the super chat. Ash will take a lot of flack, but the defense held them to like 3 straight 3-and-outs. I'm not too worried. What about Carr, though? Thanks, IB 11-1.
Yeah, I mean, it's like what we talked about when we were breaking down the defense. There was a stint of time where the defense started to lock down, and they helped fuel Notre Dame's comeback after being down 21-7. But then you also have to look at the conversation on the flip side of that coin and have the discussion around why were they down 21-7. And so it goes both ways. I get where you're coming from, Bees. I do. CJ Carr was very promising, things to work on. The defense played well. But if we're breaking down in the moments where they had to, I would say it's like a 60-40 type of performance, and it's got to get better.
Rob Titoff, thank you very much for the super chat. Tonight, I realized the least of my worries is the Notre Dame quarterback. My big questions are Chris Ash and Mike Denbrock and their play calling with idiotic bubble screens. But yeah.
Well, they didn't really run any bubble screens, but I get the point that you're making. I don't think they ran a single bubble screen tonight, but I understand the point you're making. I'm not trying to be nitpicky. They weren't bubble screens, but I understand your point.
Charlie Weiss's last belt loop. I have faith in Carr and coach Marcus Freeman. Very confused by the game calling on offense. Very predictable passing over and over. Why go away from Price? The defense, where's the violence? The O-line, ouch. Marcus Freeman will get it figured out.
Hope so.
I mean, he's earned the right for us to think he can get it figured out, right? I mean, I think that's where we are with Marcus Freeman.
100%.
So like that,
because he's done it
with you. Yeah,
multiple times.
He's
just kind of tired of them needing to, like Sean said, I'm tired of. I think it was Sean that said that. I'm tired of.
I'm tired of this. I'm tired of this conversation. They'll bounce back. They'll get right. They just be right from the start.
Matt Colt, thank you for the super chat. Carr's the guy. Ash took away all their aggressiveness and had them sitting back on their heels all game, and Denbrock was terrible.
Yeah, I don't think he was terrible, but I definitely don't think it was his best performance ever.
There's room for improvement.
Yeah, and there are some things they did that I liked. I mean, again, we praised the defense for making a couple stops. The offense did score 17 points in the second half of the game.
Look, I love the drive with Jadarian Price. That's a great drive. Just don't know why they didn't go back to it. That's all.
I think some of my things, even worse than play calling, are personnel driven, because if you do something a little bit different here, some of those things I think might have worked. Again, I didn't love what either coordinator did, but I think that that's probably a little bit too strong in my opinion. YouTube user with a super chat, thank you very, very much. GU Knight 75.
We were one less quick screen away from winning the game. The INT was not on Carr. It's on Denbrock. It's 2nd and 2. Take a shot. Go Irish.
No, man, that's on Carr. He made the decision to pull it and throw it. He's
the outcome of it bouncing all around and ending up in the hands of a defensive lineman. Yeah. That stinks that ends up being an interception on your tally. I get that and completely agree with it. But it was his decision to throw it.
Right.
And that was
it wasn't
not
a called screen. It was an RPA.
Exactly. Right.
Now, what Sean and I were talking about earlier is in that situation after it was, Miami was blowing that play up. That wasn't the first time Miami was in the face of the Notre Dame receivers on that particular play. Like, there could have been some different things. Adjustments to that. Miami's starting to really flow outside, bring something back inside. That's why those tunnel screens work so well, because they were catching Miami overflowing to the outside. They'd bust those things right inside. So some adjustments are certainly going to be needed in the RPO game. And then when you see them being that aggressive, do something against it. Like, there was no setups. Like, that's something that I wanted to see too. Give me some setups. They're crashing hard backside. Give me something. Off the run game. Give me a jet or a reverse, something like that. Put Jeremiah Love in motion and have, Jadarian Price run a mid zone or inside zone with Jeremiah running around the outside to kind of freeze that backside. That's the thing is I wanted to see a little bit more. Okay, they're doing this, so let's do that. I just wanted to see more of that.
Craig Sebring, thank you for the super chat. He's a Dolphins fan. Hey, they're undefeated right now. If Notre Dame does not get its act together, we will play in the Gator or the Sun Bowl. Okay.
Sure. That's true, but I think that
it's a little early
for
enough bowl
evidence.
Predictions.
Yeah. We have enough evidence to say that they'll get their act together to a degree. I'm I'm not worried about whether or not Notre Dame's going to get their act together. I'm just worried about whether or not it's going to be a permanent fix.
Yeah, fair.
That's more of the concern.
Our man from north of the border, Trevor Rocket. Thanks for the super chat. Brian, Vince, Sean, and Trevor. It's nights like this. I'm thankful for IB. All I'm going to say is the O-line needs to clean some things up ASAP.
Yeah. Trevor, I actually was thinking about you last week. I was going to email you, and then I saw you on a chat earlier this week. Just wanted to check in on you, how you're doing. Hope you're doing well, man. We're thinking about you still.
Meyer03. Great screen name. Thank you for the super chat. Number 1, wide receiver screen on 2nd and 2 with the best running back in the country. Twiddling his thumbs was bad. Number 2, did you guys notice Knapp and Wagner? Neither did Miami. If that is their ability in pass pro, we have a massive issue.
Well, Miami recognized them quite a lot. They realized when we need to bull rush them on a big play, we can do it.
Yeah.
We've talked about the 2nd and 2 screen call. That wasn't a screen call, but
right.
I get why people would think that, especially in the flow of the game.
Oh, for sure.
I understand.
I will say this. I have never seen a pocket close so fast as I did in the last series. Holy
that was
moly.
Embarrassing.
Yeah. Holy moly.
Yeah. Jake Maggs with a super chat. Thank you, Jake. Can we get honest thoughts on Denbrock because Wolf? I think we gave those.
Really hit that. Yep.
Yeah. Thank you for the super chat, though, Jake Maggs. I really do appreciate that. You see, he's got the little league of his own. Is that no? It's a baseball. At first, I thought it was a league of their own. So it's a baseball team. Christopher Galloway. Chris was actually down in the game. Thank you, Chris. Good seeing. Actually, I met Chris at the last Miami game last year at the or at the in
the
playoff, the Orange Bowl. Yep. He was down at the game today. Thanks, Chris. Appreciate you, man. Gabe A. Defense was so bad on 3rd down, so bad. Yeah, it was.
I mean, they weren't good, obviously, but Miami was 5 of 14 on 3rd down. Like, that's not great.
I think they weren't good in some very important situations.
Fair enough.
Fair enough. And some of the misses, like the one guy slips and falls. There was other times.
I think he would have been tackled there was nowhere for him to go.
Maybe
nowhere for him to go.
The way that they pushed Notre Dame when they did get contact, maybe. But it was the crucial moments to me, Vince. Like, I understand where you're coming from, but it was the crucial moments. You needed 3rd down stops in certain drives, and you just couldn't get them. And especially on that, right? Exactly. I mean, they scored a touchdown. I mean, on their what was it? Their first touchdown drive, they converted a 3rd and 7 with a pivot route, and then the touchdown is on a 3rd and 10. I mean, yeah, okay, they went 5 of 14, but those are 2 pretty important ones on an important drive, and that's my issue. Their next touchdown at the end of the half, they never got the 3rd down. That's what made that drive so bad. Never got the 3rd down on that drive. And then on the touchdown drive to start it, they had a 3rd and 8, and they ran that zone, 3rd and 8, 3rd and 9. They ran zone, they complete it. They get to another 3rd and 8. There's a crosser wide open for 16 yards. I mean, so it's like, yeah, okay, they only gave up 5, but those were pretty important ones and ones where you needed to execute better. And that's what I think that's where some of the frustration comes from. And I get it. I get your thing, and you're looking at the numbers and the stats, and I get all that. But at the same time, it's like you've got to handle some of those big. And that was the thing with the defense. And I like, guys, people talking about a Van Gorder level defense. No, come on, guys. Like, we can be critical without kind of jumping off a cliff, and look, Miami tonight played well. They had 19 first downs and 324 yards of offense, which is about 130 yards less than what they averaged per game last year. Yes, it was not good enough, but we're going too far when we start talking about Van Gorder. Van Gorder would have given up 50 points tonight to Miami. They had a pass for 290 and rush for 230. Let's. I think if we be upset and be frustrated, but we don't need to, take it so far. Denbrock sucks and Chris Ash needs to be fired, and they got to do better. And I think if I think Mike Denbrock and Chris Ash would be the first two people to tell you that they got to do a better job. In a lot of ways, preparation-wise, certain calls in certain moments where maybe execution wasn't set the way it needed to be set. I think they'd tell you that.
It was interesting to hear Marcus Freeman during the presser say that he just felt like the defense didn't perform at their best in the biggest moments tonight. And I think the issue is a little bit bigger than that. Yeah, you win the game if you get a couple of stops in the big moments, but overall, it's bigger than that. Like the issues are bigger than that, from coaching to execution to playing, with your hair on fire, playing with some enthusiasm, all of that. Like it's a lot over the next, week and a half that needs to be discussed. It's not just, if we play better in these big moments. Like, no, everything leads to those big moments. Everything connects. They're not separate. It's a continuum. So hopefully they can get all of those things that they need to fix cleaned up. Because they did some good things on both sides of the ball, and they still need to get better at those things that they did good. But it's a lot that needs to be cleaned up, on the field, schematically, energy, all of that. Like it needs to be discussed, because it's the trend of not playing well in the first half of games against good teams has to. All right, you got another good team coming home. It's a trend. It's a trend now. It is a trend. And you have to change that up in 2 weeks.
Trev, look, Chris Ash's philosophy is he wants to keep everything in front of him. And there's nothing wrong with that. But there's a way to do that without taking the aggressiveness away from your football team. And that's what Chris Ash is going to have to figure out. And that's what made tonight so frustrating.
Yeah, couldn't agree more. I mean, we talked about it. It's about how passive it was. And I've never liked the bend but don't break mentality. I think that's a bad way to conduct defense. That's just a personal preference, but yeah,
especially with this kind of talent, man.
Yes,
especially kind of talent.
Yep.
And I'm not saying bend but don't break. I'm saying you can have a system where, like, he played that way tonight. You're correct. He played that way tonight. What I'm saying is he can adapt and say, okay, we don't want to let people run by us. And still say, but we're going to be more aggressive.
Yep. Oh, absolutely. Oh, couldn't agree more.
Find that balance. Yeah.
Couldn't agree more.
YouTube user, thanks for the super chat. Why 3 of our top tackle recruits ball? Make a word the guards and pack or recruit that will probably be great. Pro guard is still playing left tackle. Why does Marcus allow it?
I think this is kind of, Sean, what you were getting at earlier. Like,
yeah,
you're the head football coach. Yeah.
You go down and say, look, get the best 5 guys on the field. Like, I trusted your process, but at this point, from what I see, we don't have the best 5 guys on the field. All right. Why did we not recruit this kid to play tackle? That's why we went out and got him, right? Why is he at guard? Why is he at guard? And heck, when this guy comes back from injury, we need to consider whether or not he needs to be a guard or a tackle for this team. Because maybe on another Notre Dame offensive line with better tackles, he probably could be a really good guard, an elite guard. But we have a need for him to possibly play at one of these tackles when he returns from injury. All of these discussions need to take place now. Now, the bye week is actually a blessing to be able to have those discussions and really look at the film and dive deep into it to say, we have to figure this out for the sake of, because you remember when Brady Quinn first started, he was getting killed.
Crushed.
That offensive line was getting him crushed. That's the last thing you want to happen is your freshman quarterback starts to get antsy. You see the promise. You need to solidify what's in front of him immediately to the best of your abilities as fast as you can to help his growth.
Yeah. You're like, guys, this is our franchise.
Yes.
You found your franchise quarterback. Protect him. You have a franchise running back. 2 of them. Protect them. Use them. Make sure. Like, you've got to be consistent with your mantras. There's a quote that Lou Holt said. He said, careful that you don't set rules that you have to then enforce. Careful that you don't set mantras that you're not willing to apply everywhere. Like, challenge everything except your left tackle. Like, to your point, Sean, like, you just made this decision to move Jagus to right guard with no competition, no battle whatsoever to make sure he wasn't your best left tackle? Really? Okay, cool. We're going to move Will Black to guard. Why? If he's not going to, when you put him behind Billy Strouth, you're saying he ain't playing for us this year. Okay, well then why don't you not have him play for you at left tackle, the position you recruited him to play? The first day of camp, you move Will Black to guard, or you have Will Black playing guard? I thought Styles up until Styles' first 2 drives, he handled himself well. Maybe Styles would have still beat out Will Black, but at least now you'd have a little bit more competition. It's frustrating. You literally have recruited 3 straight 5-star offensive tackles, and they're all playing guard. Think about that for a second, guys. In 3 classes in a row, you've recruited 5-star offensive tackles. My ranking, other people's rankings, and they're literally all playing guard. Now, Gerby moved to guard because of the injury to the other left tackle that you moved to guard. But still, not one of them can line up and play left tackle in practice. Not one of them. I still say the best left tackle performance we've seen the last 2 years came from Charles Jagus against Ohio State, but that's a different conversation for a different day.
David Kirkpatrick, thank you for the super chat. Sean, last year when we lost to Ohio State, used the word operation. This is the second game in a row. The other team had the better operation.
I remember using that. I probably did use the word operation. The word of the day now is trend. Yeah, I moved on from operation. It has become a trend. This team doesn't start well and doesn't play good games against good teams. Doesn't mean they don't win. Doesn't mean they don't play hard. Doesn't mean that they don't give up. It just means that I've yet to see a really start to finish good game against a good team. I've yet to see it, and that's become a trend. So things need to be looked at. When things become a trend, it's up to the head coach and the coaches to say, all right, how do we break this cycle? Like, what do we need to do to make sure this doesn't continue? Because we have another really good team coming in 2 weeks, and we can't start slow against that team. We got to start fast.
Yep. This team's got to play more, just like we got nothing to lose now. So go let it rip. I'm sorry. Robert Grant is saying he never heard me raise these concerns this summer about the offensive line situation. Like, were you seriously not paying attention to anything are you serious right now? Are you serious right now?
Wow, he hadn't been listening.
You never heard me question who was playing where on the offensive line? Seriously? Nah, Robert, you're in the chat a lot. I appreciate you, but bro, you're off on this one. I'm sorry. You were way off on this one.
Be fast. Thank you for the super chat. Maya O-Take. I thought at first Mike Denbrock was calling a game for an experienced quarterback. Now I feel like he called the game because he doesn't trust the O-line. We talked about that, right, Brian?
Yeah. 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 Vic B said those unintelligent thugs won. LOL. Go Canes. Thank you for the super chat, Vic B. I'm about tired of these ignorant Miami fans jumping in there and making that comment. We have nothing to do with that podcast. You can find some insignificant podcast that nobody listens to, and then
I've
you
never
want to
even
jump
heard
in
of
like
that
this.
one, by the way.
Like
Never heard
until
of
the Miami fans started talking about it. I'm a Notre
Right.
Dame. I don't even know who the heck those guys are. So if that makes you feel better, good for you. We're trying to be grown-ups here, so have a good night. See, this is what a good fan of another team does. Mr. FOH, appreciate you for the super chat. As a Miami fan, CJ Carr played his butt off. Like when no doubt. I mean, I've seen several Miami fans in the chat talking about CJ Carr. Like, people see it. People saw it tonight.
Yeah.
They saw stuff to clean up, but they saw a star was born to a degree. Now he's got to build on it, but
Yeah, absolutely. But the first game out of the box, let's go.
But somebody's like, how's CJ going to handle the pressure? Like, anybody that knows CJ Carr, that was not a concern of mine. And they talked about it in the game, and you're like, somebody asked him about the pressure of the moment. CJ says, when you've gone through what my family's gone through, this isn't pressure.
Exactly.
This isn't tough. This is football. This is a game. When you're a 10-year-old boy and you lose your brother and you're a mother, that's pressure. That's tough. This is just a game. And he plays like that. This is football. That's why I love to do this. And you saw that tonight. So I appreciate you, Mr. FOH.
Michael Graves, thanks for the super chat. Our foundation is running the rock. We did not set the tone for anything tonight.
Yeah. Spot on. We just kept like we're in a chat together. And we kept like saying, okay, this is the drive. They're going to start running the ball. Just kept saying it. Oh,
Christopher Galloway, thanks for the super chat. Great show as usual. Win or lose, y'all are the best. We appreciate you, Chris. Appreciate you very much.
For sure.
Number one fan of the U. Good game. Go Canes. Hey, I'm okay with that.
Man.
Yeah,
it was a good game. It was another installment. It was a good game in that it was a two teams both played hard. Yes. We've never questioned that Notre Dame play hard. It was back and forth. Some momentum swings, and you had some. Notre Dame had a couple guys make some plays. CJ Carr, obviously, Jadarian Price, Miami did. In that regard, if you're a fan of the other team, yeah. And if you're a Miami fan and you think Miami's already better than Notre Dame, then you're gonna look at it a certain way. So I appreciate that.
Another one from Christopher. Nope, we've had that one up.
No, this is different. Did you say something earlier?
I just read that one. Yep.
Thank you, man.
I remember Aretha.
But I really appreciated it. When you bringing up Aretha in the middle of the show, I'm gonna really appreciate that.
Appreciate it twice. Barbecue Pitmaster, thank you so much for the super chat. Why have corners like we have to play zone coverage? Isn't that basically negating your biggest strength of your team? Missing Golden.
I feel that. They weren't only in zone tonight. They did play man coverage when Carson Hobbs kept getting beat. That was in man coverage. He was getting beat on pivot routes. Notre Dame never really had any answers for that. So they were still playing some man. Decent amount of man. It's just too much zone and in too many situations where I didn't think zone was the smartest thing.
Chief Brody, thanks for the super chat. D-line played bad, but the secondary not playing the ball? Question mark.
Thoughts on that? I don't know that I necessarily thought that was a big issue.
I think he means specifically playing the ball on that touchdown.
That one play?
Yeah, that's my guess. I mean, other than that, Christian Gray did a great job. Yeah, 100%. There were some good. Yeah. Michael Graves, thank you so much for the super chat. Overall, we played timid on both sides of the ball tonight. There were no senses of urgency when it was needed.
I think the offense, I actually disagree with that slightly. I think the offense showed some urgency at times when they got behind and played with a poised urgency, which is what allowed them to get back in the game. But not enough of it. Like that, I think, Sean, you said at the beginning, like, stop waiting until you're behind or whatever to start playing that way. Come out and This is what we always talk about. This is my frustration with Marcus Freeman, and you guys know I love Marcus Freeman, a lot of what he does, but one of my big frustrations is his offensive mentality is very much conservative and, like let's not make big mistakes and that's why he didn't want to name CJ Carr the starter and until he finally came around to it when CJ started playing better. But it's like there's this mindset of we're going to take what the defense gives us, and I'm tired of that. I want to see this offense more aggressive. When they finally started attacking Penn State in the second half, Penn State had no answers for Notre Dame. None. And again, we've said this, Ohio State backed off offensively, let Notre Dame get back in that game. But when Notre Dame started going at Ohio State had no answers. None. They were just beating them one-on-one. Wasn't conservative when Jaden Greathouse juked Caleb Downs in space. It wasn't conservative when we made a one-handed catch. Why do you keep waiting until you're behind to let it loose and really be the tone setter? I want to see this team adopt more of a tone-setting mentality all the time. That's one of the things that Marcus Freeman, as a defensive head coach, who is allergic to turnovers on offense, which all defensive coordinators especially hate turnovers when they become head coaches because they know what it's like as a defensive coach. But you got to understand, man, like you've got to let this offense be more aggressive. And then you've got to go to Mike Denbrock and say, hey, I want you to come out in games and go after people. We got the talent to do so. We got the best running back room in college football. We got a quarterback that's a dude. And we got receivers that can make plays when we give them the chance. I mean, look, the receivers had some mistakes tonight. They got to clean up. But, I mean, Malachi made a phenomenal – we haven't seen a catch like that in a while. Jordan Faison played his butt off. Like, those are good things, but why isn't Jaden Greathouse a bigger part of what you're trying to do? Like, there needs to be things where you're moving him around, and there was just a lot of stagnation offensively. They were moving I don't remember a lot of receiver motions. I remember a lot of little quick tight end motions, but – you got to demand that as an offense that you're more aggressive and that you take the fight to the other team, not just sit back and take what the defense gives you.
Vic Cummings, thanks for the super chat. Vince, my brother, I think it's simple. Play caller just outsmarted himself. I think the question is, what now? Much love. Keep grinding. Appreciate you, Coach. Very much.
Is this a friend of yours?
Yeah, we used to coach together.
Very cool.
Yep.
I can just tell by the way you read it and the way you responded to it and him saying my brother. I was like, I think they know each other.
We do. Vic's a good guy. He's a very good guy. Good family man. All right. Chad Osborne, thanks for the super chat. Does Love get benched the entire game for fumbling, but not a turnover like Price did?
No. I mean, look, Dylan McCullough did that to Audric Estime at the beginning of the Navy game in 2023, but he came back in the second half. Got benched for like a quarter and he came back.
Gabe A., thanks for the super chat. Any chance Jagasaw goes back to left tackle when healthy?
Sean, they better consider it. My only concern is the arm he injured was his left arm. That's my only concern about it. But they better freaking consider it. If they just move him back to right guard when he comes back, that next show is going to not be pleasant. Unless Will Black is taken over at left tackle by then. Or Styles Prescott, if they think he's, but yeah, I will not. That will not be a fun show, Sean.
Yeah. To answer the question, I doubt it. I doubt it right now.
Yeah.
I doubt it. As of today, I doubt it.
I mean, he didn't do it last year. Jagasaw was supposed to be your starting left tackle last year. When he came back, they put him right to right guard. So yeah, but they better. We're both saying the same. You're saying you doubt it's going to happen. I'm saying it better happen. We're not saying something different. I think you would agree with me that it better happen. Trev, I also agree with Sean that right now, you're the show me guy. There's no more show me coach on the staff than Joe Rudolph at this point in time.
Nope, not a one. Not a one. And I wish I could answer that super chat a little bit more positively, but the track record that we're on, Jagasaw is going to be taking snaps at center. So I have no idea what's going to happen moving forward.
We're not benching Craig, okay? So take it down a notch. I realize it's late.
You forgot who's the president of the Vashon Craig fan club. No, he's moved to guard, Vince. That's why.
Oh, okay.
They moved Vashon to guard.
That makes sense. Casa Hodge, thanks for the super chat. Correct me if I'm wrong. The off man and zone is just not us. I got spoiled with Al Golden running press man off the line of scrimmage, making wide receivers earn every yard. There was a lot of way too easy stuff underneath today. And I just, you're right. It's not us as a Notre Dame fan. It's not. And it was hard to watch at times.
This could just be me misremembering because, when a coach leaves or a player leaves, you forget some of the bad things, you remember the good things.
Sure.
I don't remember in late half situations Notre Dame being as passive as they were and off with their coverage as much as they were. There was times, but I don't remember it being like it was today. I could be misremembering, but yeah.
Michael Graves, thanks for the super chat. We have a platoon of running backs. Wear them down.
Needs your offensive line to perform better to do that. I'm sorry, I know that's simple, but
no, and I mean, Trev, I get what he's saying, but at the same time, guys, like what you showed tonight is you have the potential to also have a very dynamic pass offense.
Yeah,
you're hitting plays down the field. Your quarterbacks, getting the ball out, and your receivers are making plays after the catch. Malachi is just making great catches. Eli finally steps up and makes a big play late. I mean, this doesn't need to be a ground and pound from last year. There just needs to be more balance. Definitely more balance. But to Trevor's point, you're going to need your offensive line to fuel that.
Corey K, thanks for the super chat. T&B, I'm sorry, but it has not been O-line used since Harry Hiestand left because Joe Rudolph is terrible. The same problems every year with improvement against bad teams, regressive teaching, bad player decisions.
Joe Rudolph's not terrible. The question isn't, is he a good football coach? The question is he good enough for Notre Dame? I think that's the question. You don't have the success he's had at Pitt, Wisconsin, and to a degree Notre Dame. You don't make the national championship game last year if your offensive line coach is terrible. But you have some of the problems they had early in the season and the year before now if your offensive line coach isn't elite. That's the question mark. Is he good enough for Notre Dame? And that's what he's going to have to go prove. I hope in 2 months that he's looking back being like, F you, Driscoll. I hope that's what he's doing in 2 months because that's how well the line's playing. But need to see it. And it's like Sean said, it's now 3 years in a row we've seen this.
Number one fan of the U. Thanks for the super chat. I was shocked. ORD.
Carr shocked that Carr was basically that Carr.
Oh, okay. Shocked that Carr was the game plan and not Love. Yeah, us too.
So we.
Yeah, us too. But thank you for the super chat. Andy Milton fan, thanks for the super chat. Why so many O-lineman plays? Is there a rotation?
They had a rotation to right guard, but Knapp came out with cramps.
You think that was a planned rotation at right
guard? That's
guard,
what they said.
Okay.
Yeah, I think so.
Okay.
Marcus talked about that we were probably going to see both of them.
And I knew we
weren't sure if we were going to actually see it or not, but yeah.
You're right. Okay.
Yeah. No, but he even said in his press conference that, we don't know the starters yet. We may play both of them. He didn't come out and say it, but he said we may play both of them.
Gotcha. Right.
I think it was just more part of the rotation. Left tackle was Knapp coming out with cramps, is what they said.
Yeah. The popsicle couldn't save the day. Mike Nolan, thanks for the super chat. Matkus stresses middle
Marcus.
Eight. Okay, sorry. Marcus stresses the middle eight, and that was a total disaster. Not enough playing with violence. Agreed. Across the board.
Yeah, Sean, was it Trev that said that earlier? You said that? Yeah, they got dominated in that.
Absolutely worked in the middle eight.
Andy Milton fan, thanks for the super chat. How can the O-line, months in the making, be fixed quickly? They've had months to figure it out and still don't know who should go where.
Fair. I mean, it can be quickly because, number one, the offensive line captains go into that room and say, no, this isn't good enough. I didn't play well enough. We didn't play well enough. We're not playing with the right mindset. Because even with the wrong guys in the wrong spot, if they play harder and play better than they did tonight, they'll be more effective against a lot of teams they play. Will it be good enough when they play the better teams in the playoffs? That's a different conversation for a different day. But there's things that they can correct with these same players in the same positions that will make them play better than they did tonight. But yeah, the long-term fix is like, I get it, Nathan. I really do. That's where I think some of the lack of excitement for they're going to fix it from some people comes from, and I can't say that I can't say that I understand it. I'll just say that I understand it.
Jackson, Rich, Anthony Knapp struggled against bull rushes. Isolating a 6'4" defender without help is unfair. Where are the tight ends to chip block? Will Black, please?
Yeah, I mean, I don't know what chip blocking isn't helping you against the bull rush. That's not how.
It's not.
Chip blocking helps you when you're getting wide rushers or speed rushers or things like that. I mean, there's nothing that a chip block's not going to help you a ton. You're getting bull rushed. That's just, you're getting whooped. Yeah. All right, here we go.
Relly Q, we're back. Great to see all you gentlemen again. How does Sean keep getting better looking? Excited for the future of Carr. Freeman has shown his ability to correct these issues. Go Irish. That's a very positive outlook.
It's a very fair question, too. Why does Sean keep looking
for the
younger?
kind words.
He's making us all look bad. That's what it is.
I appreciate that. Those some kind words, man. I'm sleepy as heck, so I don't know how you see that with me being this sleepy, but but I appreciate it nonetheless.
Chris Hayden, thanks for the super chat. Looking forward to the breakdown to see how many carries Jeremiah Love lost to RPO pulls and what CJ saw to pull. Easy to clean up those decisions.
I can guarantee one thing, Chris, that will absolutely be part of the breakdown that I don't know if it'll be the one you and I do, Vince. We'll have to kind of go through the game plan. I can't promise it'll be part of that, but it will be definitely, if it's not part of the upon further review breakdown that we do, it'll definitely be a video that I will make and put on the board to just walk through some of those plays and show this is why he made this decision, and a couple like, this was a good decision, and a couple like, hey, here's why he should have just given it here.
Probably the interception would be a good one to do so people
understand.
Like
I'll go back and watch it and see it, but like, I'll break that down. We'll definitely do that. That's going to be part of the thing that we're doing this year is look at some things that went well and didn't go well and break it down and using film to explain it. So we'll definitely do that. You got to be a premium board member to check that stuff out. But Chris, we'll definitely have that on the board this week. The goal is to have some of that stuff start coming out on Tuesday. Tomorrow we'll break all the film down and we'll do the upon further review video, which again, reminder this year, upon further review will be for premium members only on the message board. We will not be going live tomorrow night for that. And then here's the last one, guys, the last super chat.
From Carson Jackson, thank you for the super chat. Miami midseason form, ND seem to play to their floor. I mean, if Miami's at their midseason form, then Miami needs to continue to get better too. I'll just say that.
Yeah.
Look, they played well enough to win tonight, but they're going to need to improve the way they played if they're going to make the playoff and be a whatever, right? So if this is their midseason form, then I don't think they're going to be as good as I think they could be.
Yeah, they're not in midseason.
They're not in midseason form, and they're still undisciplined. They still just penalties.
Yeah.
Bite them in the butt.
Which helps Notre Dame get back in the game.
Absolutely. That's what they showed. Like, their success and them handling success, their Achilles heel has always been their lack of discipline for them to be a heavily penalized team. And that continued tonight. So moving forward, if they don't, because they don't have as explosive of an offense. They do have a much better defense, but they don't have a dominant defense. They have a defense that if they get out in front, their defensive ends can then do what they do best, which is get after the passer. But I think I still think they're a bad matchup against a physical team like Georgia Tech. I still think Georgia Tech will just come straight at them, force them to run, test their interior D line, which doesn't have depth. And it's going to be a matchup thing for them, and whether or not they can play clean football moving forward. That's the biggest thing for them. They're a talented team. They're a talented team. They have some really good players. Their running back room is deeper than I thought as well. They had 4 backs play tonight that all contributed. So they're okay. But I still think Carson Beck can be. He was throwing some lollipops tonight, man. Some balls.
There were balls that Notre Dame should. Go ahead, Sean. Go ahead.
There was one, if it doesn't get batted down, it's picked. They were running a mesh concept. Dawson bats it down, but Christian Gray had undercut the receiver. And if that ball gets through, Christian Gray's picking that off. So, that they had opportunities, to pick him off because he's going to give you opportunities to intercept the ball. They just didn't take advantage of it, Like I said, John Shula, if he goes after the football aggressively, he probably gets it. If he goes after with 2 hands, he probably takes it from CJ Daniels. At worst, it's an incomplete pass. Like I said, batted ball. And honestly, that ball to the touchdown that Tony hung up there forever. Which actually allowed Carson Hobbs to make it a closer play than it probably really.
Yeah, he got smoked.
Should have been, so.
The rotation at slot was not effective tonight. Was not effective. Carson's going to have to play better. Absolutely going to have to play better.
Yeah.
Well, fellas, that's all
right.
the super chats. It's going to do it for tonight's show, Vince. Why don't you take us out of here, man?
Yep. Appreciate everybody hanging out with us into the wee hours of the morning to discuss this game. We appreciate everybody, and we're going to have all kinds of analysis coming your way over the next couple of weeks. Obviously Notre Dame has a bye, so they've got some time to get some things going. We do have another super chat here from David Kirkpatrick. Thanks for being there through the good and the bad. Helps to have perspective to move forward. That's what we're here for, David, and appreciate you throwing us some love with the super chat very, very much. Again, we are going to have a little bit of a different scenario than we had last year. We're going to be putting some stuff up on the premium message board, as Brian described before. There's going to be our upon further review is going to be message board only. So you're going to want to check that out because we are going to do some video breakdown and things of that nature. And so you're going to want to check that out. So if you're not a member, you want to jump over at boards.irishbreakdown.com. It is worth your weight in gold. I can promise you that. You want to check it out as soon as possible. Go ahead, Brian.
I also want to say it is now officially September 1st. So
Yes,
I just want to say to my dude above me right here, Trevor, happy 1-year anniversary, my man. 1 year of matrimony. So you enjoy your day today, and we appreciate you being with us. But tell your lovely bride that we said congratulations and thank you for letting you have us here for this evening. So, but happy anniversary, my dude.
Yeah, I appreciate you. I have an awesome wife. She's been asleep now for a while, but she stayed up. We watched the whole game, but she's awesome. Gave me the opportunity to do this and supports me the whole way. So. At the end of the day, this loss sucks, but it is just a game and it's football. And tomorrow we get to celebrate the real thing. And so I'm excited.
And Trevor is part of the IB. There's one thing that all of us at IB have in common. We all married up. We all punched up when it came to our significant others. So
yeah, Marty Biaggi should call me for how much I outkicked my coverage on this one, fellas.
Wow.
Join the crew, my man. Join the crew. That's one thing we all have in common.
We're going out on the special teams reference right there. I appreciate that one, Trevor. But all 4 of our beautiful wives are all sleeping right now, which is why I have to sleep in my son's room tonight. But anyway, hope everyone has a wonderful evening, and at least try to at this point. We'll be bringing it back to you tomorrow and the days following with all the analysis and all the breakdown. And look, bottom line is there's at least 11 games left, and we're going to break them all down for you. So make sure you stay locked in to Irish Breakdown. Make sure you hit that like button, that subscribe button, that notification bell, share with your family and friends. And of course, as I mentioned before, jump on the boards at boards.irishbreakdown.com. You will not be upset with that purchase. So for Sean, For Trevor, for Brian, I'm Vince, and we will talk to you next time on the Irish Breakdown Podcast.